welcome to part 2 of Nuclear Dragon. If you encounter any issues or have feedback, please let me know in the comments rather than just disliking the video. Your input helps me improve, and I'm here to make sure you have the best experience possible. Enjoy the content.
Part 1. Chapter 51. With the development of the plot, Snowboy soon met the injured female knight, who was equally beautiful, powerful, and luxurious. The encounter of the two made the people in the movie theater, accounting for more than 90% of men, to be excited. With the progress of the development between the two, those men couldn't help but substitute themselves as the protagonist, shouting internally, "They must be together. Together!" Then there was the scene where they kiss each other under the moonlight, causing some viewers to shout in excitement. It feels like kissing the heroine in the movie, the beautiful and powerful female knight. Then they finally reach the scene where the evil magician cursed Snowboy because of jealousy. Suddenly, the entire movie theater exploded. Fact, who the hell is that damn mage? I'm going to kill him. That mage is so ugly. I thought that mages are all elegant, mysterious, and powerful. But I was wrong. This mage is a bastard. Well, mages were innocently implicated, slightly lowering their image amongst these people. Oh my god, Snowboy is too pitiful. Why is beauty a sin? A woman said sadly. There was a lot of noise in the cinema. There was even the sound of punching, cursing, and crying. Some guys punched and kicked their seats due to anger. Everyone, please be quiet. This is a movie. The plot is not over yet. Keep watching. In addition, any damage to the seat will be compensated at the original price. Everyone, don't think that you might be lucky and that I won't find you. I'm talking about you. The sixth seat in the third row. That short blonde hair, dressed in floral clothes. Stop it, you hear me? Andre spoke. His voice was not loud, but it could reach the ears of the audience clearly. The short-haired blonde man who was mentioned by Andre felt the sights around him and immediately stopped punching and kicking, smiling awkwardly. He quickly sat upright. The storm finally passed. The audience continued to watch the movie, watching the unconscious Snowboy lying on the bed sadly. Until the female knight found the mage, the two fought. The audience below cheered loudly for the female knight, waiting for the female knight to explode that mage's dog head. But the final result disappointed them. The mage is more powerful than the female knight, and he has many servants. With the assistance of these servants, the mage defeated the female knight and severely injured her, chasing her across a long distance. Seeing the female knight being chased from the sky to the ground without a respite, the audience underneath were all angry. They could not wait to appear on the screen to help the female knight hack the mage. What? Do you say they can't beat the mage? Then they just want to hack him. It doesn't matter if they can beat him or not. Until the end, the female knight couldn't escape and was finally cornered by the evil mage. Just as the mage opened his mouth and cast a spell to kill the female knight, the sky was suddenly shrouded in a shadow. A huge bronze dragon appeared. He instantly defeated the evil mage with unmatched power and rescued the female knight. This caused the entire cinema to be filled with cheers from the audience. The audience cheered as the female knight was saved, but what followed was screaming, worried that the dragon attacks the female knight. This is a monster that most residents have never seen. However, many knowledgeable people in the audience said, "Don't worry. This is a bronze dragon from the metal dragon family. They are all righteous creatures. The female knight is saved." The audience was finally relieved. However, many of the people in the cinema were shocked, mumbling under their breath. This audiovisual stone records all things that happened in front of it. In other words, they actually found a true dragon to film this scene? After making such an analysis, these people were secretly startled. The strength of this Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce is a bit too strong. It must not be underestimated. As the plot continued, Snowboy was healed with the help of the dragon, and the female knight and Snowboy finally returned to their territory. The final scene was when the female knight ordered her people to build a huge dragon statue to pay respect for the dragon that saved them. The whole story finally ended, and the audience started talking to each other with a smile. The atmosphere was very good. The 2-hour-long movie did not make them feel dull at all. Now they desperately need a companion to exchange their views on this movie. A group of viewers did not stand up and leave in a hurry, but sat in place to discuss the plot. But this is not what Andre wanted to see. He wants these audiences to discuss the movie outside and attract more customers by the way. So he started to rush people. Everyone, the movie is over. I believe that everyone is very happy to be the first batch of people to see the movie. So, do you think that this movie is good? It's good. So good. I was not in a good mood today, but after watching it, I felt much better. Thank you, sir, for the movie. This is my happiest day this month, because I saw a wonderful movie. I swear, I love movies more than gambling. The response from the audience was very good. That's good. If there are other movies in the future, will everyone come to watch it? Andre said with a smile. Of course. As long as there are, we will definitely come to see. It's so good. Those who don't watch it are fools. We'll definitely come. Thank you for your support. But you will need money next time. After all, the cost of renting this house and shooting the movie is not low, but we will still give you a reasonable price. That is 30 copper coins. With only 30 copper coins, everyone can watch a magical story for 2 hours. Andre said fervently, 30 copper coins are not expensive. Don't worry, sir. I will definitely come here often in the future. A relatively wealthy resident said. I will come, as long as the movie is still so good. This is what a rational resident said. A bit expensive. It depends on the situation. This is what a struggling resident said. Okay, the movie is over. Everyone, please leave in an orderly manner. Start with the first line on my left-hand side, Andre said at last. A group of residents left the cinema honestly. At this time, there are still many people gathering outside the cinema. After all, it's a new industry, and many people are very curious. When the first batch of viewers finished watching, these people waiting outside couldn't help but ask, how about, is this movie thing good-looking? I heard that it was recorded using an audiovisual stone. Is it appealing? How is it? Talk about it, you guys. Hearing questions from residents outside, the viewers who just came out of the cinema couldn't help but groan. Superb. After watching this movie, I think my life has been sublimated. Seeing this has been my luckiest time in this year. I'm telling you, this movie is really good-looking. I regret not watching it for a lifetime. Snow Boy and the female knight are so beautiful. The most important thing is that there is a dragon. My God, this is the first time I have seen such a magical creature. It's amazing. The crowd outside felt their heart itching after hearing the endless praise. A man couldn't help but shout to Nefiro, who was guarding the gate. We want to watch this movie too. Now that the people inside are out, can we watch it? Part 1. Chapter 52. Wait for a second. Nefiro replied instinctively. Of course, said Andre, who had already come out of the cinema. But this time we have to charge 30 copper coins per person. 30 copper coins? Why is this so expensive? I can buy several pieces of white bread with 30 copper coins. Some people think that it's expensive. A 2-hour-long entertainment activity shouldn't cost so much money. I'll honestly tell everyone, 30 copper coins are already considered cheap. I showed these movies to nobles from other places before, but they were charged with silver coins. Our actors are the best. Finally, I even employed the kind Metal Dragon clan to act with us. Ask the ladies and gentlemen who just finished watching. Is this 30 copper coins worth it? Andre said seriously. Many of the residents who had just finished walking out of the cinema spoke for Andre. You can rest assured to see. You will never regret it. This movie is really good. I felt that my life was complete after watching Snow Boy. This movie is of great value. I will definitely come back next time. This is something that only nobles could see before. 30 copper coins are already very cheap. Many of the people who say these things had excited expressions. The residents who were still hesitant finally stepped forward to pay after hearing these words. After Nefiro took the money, she threw it in a wooden bucket beside her. This person happily followed Andre into the movie theater. When someone took the lead, the next person immediately paid the money and followed after them, afraid that he won't be able to watch the movie if he didn't do so. Seeing this, a group of people rushed over. Soon, the 100-people quota was filled again. After watching the movie, these 100 people all walked out with a smile on their faces, admiring the various wonderful plots in the movie as they walked. The residents outside the door jealously watched them, then quickly paid the money and entered the theater. When the fourth batch of people finished watching, it was already very late, close to midnight. Andre decisively closed the cinema. 2 dragons counted their gains in the cinema. There are 3 groups of people that paid this time. The first 2 groups are 100 people, and the last group is 95 people. A total of 8,850 copper coins, which is close to 9 gold coins. This is just one night's income. Andre collected the copper coins in a big sachet, then exchanged them for gold coins in the nearest bank. He returned to the cinema and closed his eyes for a while, waiting for the next day. The next morning, just after eating breakfast, a large number of people gathered at the door of the cinema. Among this group of people, the leading ones are quite different from those of last night. Their clothes are much more expensive, not to mention that their aura is very different from that of normal commoners. Most of the people here are wealthy merchants, and perhaps a few small nobles. The vast majority of civilians are now preparing for work, and only these wealthy people have time to watch movies during the day. After opening the door and seeing these people, Andre smiled slightly. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Is this the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce? This is the first time I heard of this Chamber of Commerce, but your movie was very popular yesterday. I heard about yesterday at night, making me feel very itchy. A luxuriously dressed, beautiful blonde woman said. She wore a lot of luxury items such as jewelry. Our Chamber of Commerce wasn't active on this continent before, but now we are just here for the first time. You come here so early because you want to watch the movie, right? Andre said. Of course. How can I watch such an amazing thing as a movie? Such a novel thing must be seen, said a young man dressed like a nobleman. Andre elegantly gestured with his hand and said, "Then everyone please come in." The lady took the lead, and the group of luxuriously dressed people immediately followed her, followed by a small number of ordinary residents at the end. But before they step into the cinema, the lady walking in the front turned her head. She glanced at the civilians at the end, then said to Andre, "This gentleman, I think the last ones can wait until the next time to watch. What do you think?" "What? Let us wait for the next time? Why? I heard that 100 people can enter the cinema every time. Why must we wait until the next time?" Someone shouted disapprovingly. Someone beside him immediately grabbed the corner of his clothes and whispered, "Shut up. The one who spoke just now is the daughter of the president of the Ankara Chamber of Commerce." The person who spoke before turned pale, not daring to speak anymore. Andre raised his eyebrows and said, "Ma'am, this is not something an elegant person should do. You have caused me to lose a lot of gold coins. I'll make it up to you. Let's just say, how many gold coins do you need so that they don't come in and disturb us?" The lady said elegantly, "Each batch is a 100 people. Each must pay 30 copper coins, which is 3 gold coins in total. As long as you can make up for the lacking gold coins, I can meet your requirements." "Baker." The lady turned her head and called a middle-aged man dressed as a housekeeper next to her. Then, without waiting for him to answer, she walked into the cinema. The butler named Baker immediately nodded, took out 3 gold coins from his clothes, and handed them to Andre. "Thank you for your generosity, ma'am," Andre said with a big smile. The group of people quickly walked into the cinema. The lady glanced around the cinema, then walked to the middle seat of the first. She frowned a bit as she got closer to the seat, then said with an unpleasant look on her face, "It's such a poor seat. I even smelled some unpleasant odors on it, which is really annoying." After speaking, she glanced at Baker again. Baker understood her meaning immediately, bent down and took out a cotton handkerchief from his arms, then carefully wiped the seat. At last, the lady reluctantly sat down, and Baker stood honestly beside the lady. Some other merchants and nobles also wiped the seat off, while others carelessly sat down. Andre finally played the movie. The merchants and aristocrats below watched Andre fiddling with the audiovisual stone and some instruments for a while, before an enlarged video projection appeared on the wall behind him. The first thing that caught their eyes was the male protagonist, Snow Boy, who was as handsome as an elf. The lady groaned softly as she watched him. "Oh, what a beautiful boy. I really want him to come to my afternoon tea party. Madam, I think you can invite me to participate. I think we will have a good chat," said a middle-aged aristocrat sitting not far from the lady. "No, you can't. I like chatting with beautiful and handsome people." The lady shook her head and said, "No, madam, although I'm not handsome, I am very strong, am I?" The nobleman laughed boldly. "There are many people who are stronger than you, but there are not many people who are as handsome as Snow Boy," the noble lady said flatly. She finally turned her head and smiled at Andre. "Sir, can you introduce me to the actor of Snow Boy? I am willing to pay 50 gold coins." "I'm sorry, he is not in this country right now," Andre said with a look of regret. "It's really a shame." The lady was unwilling. "If he comes here, please tell me." "Of course." The butler, who had been standing behind, had his eyes drooping and pretended to hear nothing. These people always make some slight voices while watching movies. But fortunately, there are few people this time, which doesn't affect the viewing experience. It wasn't until the female knight appeared that the men in the cinema became noisy. A man in his 30s said with a fascinated expression, "What a beautiful and brave lady. I really want to marry her." Many men had the same idea. Part 1. Chapter 53. As the plot continued to advance, they finally reached the battle between the wizard and the female knight. The fight between the two is truly fighting energy and exquisite skills versus mysterious and powerful magic, which is absolutely phenomenal for ordinary people. A young nobleman couldn't help but exclaim while watching the battle, "Oh, these two people are amazing. This female knight is much stronger than Uncle Ham. What is her level? Level 8? Level 9? Or maybe even a masterclass fighter, level 10. I think because it should be level 10, the mage is also about this level. It's really amazing." Another person exclaimed. As a forced battle unfolded between the two, the female knight lost in the end and desperately fled. The audience below was shocked and couldn't help but pray for the female knight. Until the end, the camera zoomed out, and a black spot quickly appeared on the horizon. A gray behemoth that occupied most of the screen appeared. At the same time, it arrived instantly and extinguished the flame magic that the evil mage had already launched, then swept the evil mage and his minions with absolute strength. The unparalleled power of the dragon race was completely shown in front of all the audience. The young nobleman who had spoken before said with his mouth wide open, "It's really a dragon. I didn't believe it when I heard about it yesterday. I never expected to see the heroic figure of the legendary dragons in this place. This is a living dragon, different from the fabricated ones in Bard stories. It's too mighty, too strong. It would be great if I had such a partner. Really beautiful creature, powerful, elegant, noble, long-lived, someone admired. To be able to invite a true dragon to act, the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce is very powerful. Judging from the size of this dragon, it should be an adult. Sure enough, this Chamber of Commerce can't be underestimated. Many people had this idea in their hearts. They are determined to pay attention to it. If they have a chance in the future, they must cooperate with it. But if there is no chance, they mustn't provoke it. While watching the movie, Andre suddenly smelled a strange smell from the body of the noble lady in the first row. Carefully looking at her, her face was flushed and her legs were unconsciously tangled together. Looking at Snow Boy, her eyes were blurred. This woman actually felt estrus while watching a movie. It's scary. After watching the movie, some people were elated and happy to see an excellent story, while others were full of thoughts, ready to inform their families of their discovery. When these people left, there were not many ordinary viewers left. Andre also replayed the movie for them. It was not until the evening that the theater became popular again. The whole city knew about the movie theater and the wonderful and unusual stories there. The Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce quickly gained fame in Hylon City. They first started to hire servants, then used empty audiovisual stones to copy the content that has been filmed. In the days to come, Andre uses Hylon City as the center point to radiate to the surrounding cities. Back on Dragon Island, Shillong checked with Andre about the developments every few months, dividing the money by the way and supplementing videos. Shillong is still filming on Dragon Island, but because there are fewer and fewer dragons on Dragon Island, and some dragons seem to be a little tired of the whole movie business, Shillong's income gradually dropped. About a year later. Shillong gave up making movies. There are only about 200 dragons left on Dragon Island at that time. For this reason, Shillong can only advise Andre on how to expand the business outside. 2 more years have passed, and Shillong's sleeping period has arrived. After informing his mother and Armin, he found an active volcano on the edge of Dragon Island. This was the only active volcano on Dragon Island. Shillong didn't hesitate to plunge into it after discovering it. He likes hot environments. The temperature inside the volcano is more than 1,000 degrees, but Shillong felt like he was soaking in the hot springs of his previous life. He almost groaned due to pleasure. His huge body completely sank into the magma, almost letting the magma in the volcano overflow from the crater. After completely sinking his body into the magma, Shillong closed his eyes. Time quickly passed. 7 years later, in the original crater, the lava that was about to overflow has cooled, and the gray-cooled volcanic rock was full of cracked lines. Kakaka, as time passed, the dry and cracked rock formation cracked even more. There seems to be something about to come out from below. Boom! Along with a loud noise, all the rocks on the surface were destroyed by a huge force, splashing out into the sky. The entire crater was destroyed. There was gravel rain around the mountain, a gray gravel rain. Hazy dust filled the sky. A huge black gold dragon stood quietly on the same cooled magma. The height of this dragon is about 35 meters. His pupils became darker, and the stream of golden particles converged, bright and dark, exuding an indescribable feeling of palpitations. His eyes are as dazzling as the sun in the sky, and the golden lines on his scales exuded golden particles from time to time. These golden particles leaked from the excessive energy in the dragon's body. When the golden particles fell on the cooled magma, an explosion sounded. A black crater with red magma, exuding extreme heat, appeared. His body unconsciously exuded a high temperature, creating palpitating crimson flames around him. Shillong felt that his condition was surprisingly good. His body seemed to have changed a lot. He felt something additional in his body. He also acquired some strange abilities. He knows that he has passed the youngling age group, and now he is a true young dragon. This is the age group Armin reached 10 years ago. Although he has become a strange mutant dragon with immense strength, his body's lifespan seems to be far longer than that of ordinary dragons. This was discovered by Shillong 10 years ago. A longer lifespan naturally means that it will take longer to enter the next age group. His hind limbs are stronger than his forelimbs, allowing him to stand upon them easily. Lifting his forelimbs gently, he didn't use any spiritual or elemental magic, but a magical power gushed out from his body. Boom! A pure white ripple spread forward, and all the ground that was struck by the ripple exploded. As if smashed by a bulldozer, large tracts of soil were pushed back by an invisible force. The heat and flames that were surrounding him dissipated. Moving his hands again, boom! The ground exploded again, and a large area of land flew towards Shillong, instantly burying him. His huge body was covered with a layer of gray mud armor. He quickly gave up using this power and shook his body slightly to shake the soil off. He swayed his forelimbs again. An invisible force instantly centered on him, acted downward. Bang! The whole ground sank by 1 meter. Boom! The entire volcano shook, and the ground within a radius of 100 meters sank again. Every few seconds, the ground sank a bit. This process lasted for dozens of seconds. After sinking for 7 or 8 meters, this force was largely unaffected. Just preliminarily testing this new power resulted in a giant circular crater with a diameter of more than 100 meters and a depth of almost 10 meters. Shillong gently stabbed the ground with his claws. Feeling the slight obstruction, he was quite surprised. The hardness of the soil is definitely far beyond the past, comparable to steel. Their density was increased by the force he emitted just now. It's the force of gravity, which violently compressed the soil on the ground, changing its quality and increasing its density. After this dragon sleep, Shillong obtained 3 new abilities: gravity, repulsion, and attraction. These 3 forces were strengthened by the abnormal changes in the body, manifesting as new and extremely powerful abilities. This caused Shillong to feel the uselessness of elemental magic. Perhaps he had no chance to use destructive magic. Only some rare buffing and protection spells could pick his interest. On this active volcano, Shillong continuously used the 3 newly acquired abilities. Part 2. It took him more than an hour to become familiar with them. Shortly after that, Armin and Viola arrived. Their blood connection allowed them to feel Shillong's awakening. Part 1. Chapter 50. For the 2 dragons quickly came to Shillong and landed beside him. After 10 years of growth, Armin's height is about 5 meters, and his mother Viola is close to 20 meters. Viola, who was originally huge, was definitely a behemoth, but now he is standing next to Shillong. Her size is nothing. If there are external dragons here, I can't believe that these 3 dragons are in a mother-child relationship. In the eyes of Shillong, it is definitely the relationship between grandpa, daughter, and grandson. The height of is 35 meters, which is basically equivalent to that of the Taiku dragon among the dragons. Although he was prepared, Viola was still deeply moved when he saw Shillong's growth with his own eyes. She said, "My child, you have grown into a powerful dragon. Mom is proud of you." Armin is a little depressed. Is there no limit to the growth of this big guy? If you continue to stand with him, isn't it always the gap between the cat and the tiger? Mom, my strength has become stronger. This will allow me to better protect Armin and you, Mom. Shillong said, "Mom is glad you can think like this. Your heart will always be kind." The mother and son Shillong talked for a while, and Armin flew to Shillong's back, but as soon as he stood up, he felt a little uncomfortable. Sultry, irritable, restless, and unspeakable discomfort in his body. He frowned and said, "Shillong, what did you do to me? It makes me feel so uncomfortable." Shillong turned his head awkwardly and looked at Armin on his back. "I didn't do anything? What's the matter with you, guy?" "Huh?" Armin was taken aback for a moment, and then said his feelings. Mother and son, 3 dragons face each other. "Mom, try it if you come close to me. Doesn't it feel strange?" Shillong said. Viola nodded and slowly approached Shillong, kept leaning against Shillong's feet, and Viola didn't feel anything special. She frowned and said, "I don't feel anything at all." "Huh?" Shillong looked at Armin in a puzzled way. Isn't this kid acting in his heart? Hey, what do you think of me? Is Armin the kind of dragon that can lie?" Armin said, unhappy. "Mom, why don't you turn into a humanoid creature?" Shillong thought for a while. Viola nodded and turned into an elf appearance. At this moment, she finally felt the symptoms Armin said. She was a little uncomfortable. "Shillong, I feel Armin's state, and being around you will really make the dragon uncomfortable." "This?" Shillong frowned. He woke up from a deep sleep this time. It seemed that he had changed more than he thought, and these changes were not necessarily good. "Child, this should be your domain," Viola said. "When our dragon becomes an ancient dragon, a special domain will be formed around itself. These domains will help improve our own combat effectiveness and be used for deal with races with low combat effectiveness, such as the burning domain of the red dragon, the withered domain of the black dragon, the lightning domain of the blue dragon, the burning domain of the golden dragon, the poisonous domain of the bronze dragon, and our own ice domain. Your domain has taken shape. You have to learn to control it." Shillong heard the words and nodded clearly. "As Shillong, he is only 30 years old like me. I actually own the realm of the ancient dragon." Armin was extremely envious. "I also want to be a strong and robust dragon." Stabbed just as Armin was thinking like this, a golden spot in the gold scar of Shillong's scales splashed out and landed on Armin's scales. Stabbed with the falling of the golden spots, the snow-white scales instantly appeared a small black spot and gradually expanded, and soon the entire scale became a black scale, as if it were charred. Armin saw a black scale appear on his silver-white beautiful scales and his mentality exploded. He quickly flew away from Shillong's back and landed tens of meters away. After he finished speaking, he quickly twisted his long neck, sticking out his tongue and licking at the black scales. Zero is a little embarrassed on the side. This is really a good night's sleep. My health is too good. The energy is too abundant. This splashing out will pit Armin. Armin licked on the spot for a long time, and finally found that although his scales were cleaned a lot, they were still slightly black. The blackness can't be removed no matter how licked it, and it can't return to the shiny silver before. Armin yelled and cursed. Viola hurriedly walked over and said, "Baby, don't worry, Mom can cure you." Armin listened, his eyes brightened instantly, and he looked at Viola with an expectant look. Viola smiled slightly, took out a few silver coins from her space ring, and recalled with a face, "Our dragons will go through a lot of battles in their lives, and the battles will inevitably hurt our beautiful scales, but we can't repair them. You are optimistic." At the end, Viola used fire magic to dissolve a few silver coins in his claws into liquid, and then wrapped the liquid with his own magic power, slowly drifting towards Armin's dark scales. The silver solution was completely covered on the black scales, and then applied evenly under the control of Viola. Yu reading www.yuyukanshu.com soon disappeared from the black scales, replaced by a shiny silver scale. Armin saw this, and finally stopped screaming. He looked at Viola with admiration and said, "It's a mother. There is such a way." Viola smiled complacently. Shillong thought blankly on his face. Maybe this is dragon makeup? Beauty skin surgery? Mother dragon's love of beauty, don't peek at it. After solving this small problem, Zero transformed back into his body. He still has a few questions that he has not solved. Flying directly on Armin's back, Shillong asked, "Armin, you were affected by my domain just now. What about now?" Armin heard this, looked at Shillong with a disgusting look, felt it a little, and said, "No more." Zero nodded. Obviously, when he was in the body, both his strength and ability were weakened. He turned Armin into a human form again, and the power of the domain was still gone. Then, he asked Viola and Armin to go back first. He wants to familiarize himself with the power of the domain while in the dragon body. He didn't return to his residence until the next day. Every day seems to be normal again. After 7 years of sleep, there are fewer dragons on Dragon Island. There are only more than 100 now, and the others have returned to the mainland. Movies have basically no profit. After a while, Andre also came back. A total of 10 years, because Shillong had shot a lot of films before, Andre played it slowly and persisted until now. Brought a total of tens of thousands of gold coins to Shillong. The Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce has also developed into a well-known large chamber of commerce in the Kingdom of Starland. Part 1. Chapter 55, however, after 10 years of development, the new film industry has reached maturity in Shillong Kingdom. Films appeared in Hylon City for a month, but their quality was so low that they could not compete with Shillong's films. After another year of development, Andre has opened movie theaters in the surrounding 3 cities, and the profit model and profit of the movie have initially entered the public eye. Other chambers of commerce were jealous of this kind of profit, and naturally some people moved in, and the film industry immediately ushered in rapid development. After another year, the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce is considered to be an opponent, and the directors trained by other chambers of commerce are basically close to mature. In the next few years, Shillong Kingdom movies entered the whole country. The competition has become fierce, but Shillong's film still has an advantage. Why? Because his film is a big production. There's a dragon, a high-level warrior turned into a dragon. Senior mage. This kind of senior professional, ordinary people really can't invite them to make movies. Even if it is a large chamber of commerce, at most it can only invite high-level professionals such as high-level fighters and mages, but these high-level professionals are also expensive. And their shooting efficiency is far from comparable to that of the dragon. The dragons can be filmed in 2 to 5 days. Ordinary teams need more than 10 days, and some have stricter requirements on the surrounding environment, which takes longer. This makes their shooting cost more expensive, and in the film of the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce, metal dragons are on you one by one. Brass dragon, copper dragon, silver dragon, golden dragon, bronze dragon. 5 metal dragons. An existence that most people have never seen. How can other chambers of commerce compare to this compelling standard? So in the film industry, the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce, even now, is still the leading industry in the entire Starland Kingdom. No matter how many other movies, it's hard to compete with Soderbergh. There are many crazy people in the middle who want to invite dragons to do some big productions. But the result was rather miserable. These guys couldn't find the good dragon, so they went to look for the evil dragon. As a result, there were no people and no money. At this time, Shillong, Armin, and Andre are all considered the richest of the Shillong clan. Shillong has gold coins provided by the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce, plus the money earned by playing movies on Long Island, and he has nearly 200,000 gold coins. Armin had 50,000 gold coins, all of which were given to him by Shillong. Andre also has close to 100,000 gold coins. After Shillong awakened, when he met Andre for the first time, Shillong discovered a strange situation. There seems to be some problems with my own consciousness. He has become a little concerned about gold coins. After receiving the dividend at the time, he originally wanted to distribute a batch to Armin directly, but for some reason, he suddenly felt reluctant. At that time, Shillong looked at the gold coin dumbfounded for a long time, and it took a lot of effort to suppress this reluctance, and gave a part of the gold coin to Armin. After, Zero was not shooting a movie, so he just made an expansion plan for Andre. First of all, he asked Andre to shoot the movie himself, and set up a team to train some directors, which would help blossom everywhere. After all, Shillong's film was almost played. Every time I sleep in the future, it may be longer and longer. With Shillong alone, problems will occur sooner or later. Regarding this proposal, at first Andre expressed his desire to take Shillong to the mainland and let him film directly in the mainland, and said he can protect Shillong. But this proposal was rejected by Shillong. Kidding, he is only 30 now. I'm still young. The size is similar to Karma, and if there is a dragon similar to him, there is still danger. Maybe Dragon Island was out, but a group of 5 color dragons came to besiege him, each or Karma level. Isn't it sorrowful or auspicious? You, Andre, is not even a legendary dragon. Who do you protect? Have you never read a certain novel? As long as the protagonist appears on the stage, there will be someone who is stronger than him or almost as strong as him to confront the protagonist. So I am not safe yet. At least 10 years. Only then, Zero felt that he could make waves on the mainland for a while. Regarding Shillong's caution, Andre expressed his understanding. In the end, the 2 dragons talked about development for a day, and then they separated. Shillong's days seem to have become boring again, and Armin is never boring. He is very happy every day. He learned a fire spell from his mother Viola a few days ago, and then hides in his nest every day to melt silver coins. Why did you melt the silver coins? Of course it was to put the highlights on your scales. Which scale is a little dull, just wipe it out. Now he is really shining silver, and the sun shines, reflecting so much. From then on he fell into narcissism. In his lair, perhaps because of too much money, this guy Armin was very extravagant, spent thousands of silver coins, melted the silver coins into silver water, smeared it on the wall, and then placed it in the hole. There are several exquisite chandeliers bought by Andre from outside. The entire chandelier is on 24 hours a day, and the cave is shining with silver. Can almost blind people's eyes. Armin, this guy, is now in his lair all day long. Shillong, this will be a bit boring. He wants to develop games, but technology does not allow it. He hasn't had any clues yet because he hasn't been out before, and he still doesn't know what the outside world is like. It is impossible to effectively understand the outside world only by inheriting memory and Andre's narration. Wuxia World. Online the game is something that Shillong must do. In a world without games, is there a need for it? This is a boring world, and a dragon must stand up to change it. And obviously, Shillong is the dragon. He decided to be a wise research dragon. For this, he asked his mother Viola, who is the best arcanist on the island. The answer got was Kamadan, the most ancient dragon-level golden dragon I have seen before. Shillong expressed to his mother that he wanted to take Kama as a teacher and learn arcane arts. Viola listened and said he was very happy, and took Shillong to see Karma. The apprenticeship was smooth, and Kama was pleased to accept the disciple Shillong. And make up your mind, while teaching, continue to do ideological work for Shillong. Studying is boring and long. After that, Shillong has been studying with Karma. Has been studying for several months. On this day, Shillong was on the edge of the beach on Central Island. Humanoid, he stared at a lobster by the beach. This lobster is the size of an adult slap, and there is a faint red light flashing on its body. The big pliers clamp a wooden stick with thick fingers and apply a little force. The stick was pinched off with a click. This lobster didn't stop even after breaking the stick. It seemed to have mania. The 2 big tongs danced randomly. Many small gravels were scattered by it. That's right. As expected, it is a lobster who has applied the giant force technique and fanaticism technique. The wooden stick that was originally clamped on was suddenly cut off. Zero squatted and looked at the lobster boredly. He was doing experiments to test what kind of performance a lobster would behave after getting a spell boost.
Loving the audiobooks? Your support on Patreon helps me keep them coming. Check out the link in the description. A huge thank you for your support. Now, let's dive into the next chapter.
Part 1. Chapter 56. The result is not bad. This lobster is definitely the overlord of the same family now. It showed its power with great energy. After 10 minutes, the lobster stopped moving and lay motionless on the spot. It's dead. This lobster has been strengthened too much. The increased strength of the 2 spells is not a percentage, but a fixed value. When this fixed value is much greater than the augmented object itself, the body of the augmented life will be damaged, and this lobster has gained power far beyond itself. So it died. Shillong then stuffed him directly into his mouth and chewed. His stomach can transform almost anything into its own energy. Just when he turned around and prepared to go back and continue learning spells with Kama, the sea actually started to rise. And the tide rose rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye and quickly flooded the edge of the coast, and then flooded toward Shillong on the shore. Seeing this, Zero flew off the ground immediately. The sea is still rising wildly. The entire island was being swallowed by the sea, and strange-looking lobsters, crabs, sea snakes, and so on suddenly appeared. They surged towards the whole island. Something is wrong. Just as Shillong thought about it, Karma Dawn, who was still in the cave, flew out of the cave, looking solemnly at the rising tide of the sea, and muttered to himself, "Here again, don't these guys know what to give up?" "Teacher, what's going on?" Silum asked. "It's the benthic magic fish." Kama said, "What kind of monster is this? How dare to attack our dragon island?" Shillong said, "Isn't our dragon the strongest creature? There are still people who dare to provoke me. This is a race destroyed by the gods. They ruled the world in a distant age. They are kings of the sea and possess the ability to manipulate monsters in the sea. These guys don't have very good brains, so admit it. We have been attacking our dragon island thousands of years ago. But every time they are defeated by us, they never get discouraged. They will do it again every few decades. This time it's time again." The sea was still rising and soon flooded the big trees. Some sea monsters of 4 or 5 meters in size have surfaced, began to wantonly destroy everything around him. "Teacher, don't we stop these sea monsters?" Silum couldn't help asking. These sea monsters are all controlled by the benthic magic fish. They don't have much wisdom. Killing them is not the key. Kama shook his head. "The other dragons on the island will deal with it. My task is to find the benthic, where the magic fish is. Only in this way can this attack be resolved." After said, he began to flap his wings. While flying, looking at the sea below, a line of exploration spells spilled into the sea without money. Zero hurriedly followed behind him, and while flying, he also activated new abilities. At this time, he was only more than 30 meters above the sea, to ensure that he would not be attacked. When he saw a lot of sea monsters surfaced, he used gravity to attract them. The average 2 or 3 meters of small fish and shrimp can be directly sucked out of the sea by his gravity. But as long as it exceeds 4 meters, Shillong can't breathe and can only make the opponent tremble. The opponent's violent struggle and suction resistance are just like sheep's madness, crazily twitching, and sea water splashes everywhere. Kama naturally saw what Shillong did, but didn't say much. The two dragons have been flying. Shillong has seen many dragons attacking the sea monsters in the sea. Now these sea monsters with a size of up to 5 meters are not the opponents of the dragons at all. These dragons are spewing flames, frost, and acid. As long as the sea monster is vomited, it is killed directly. Or fan the wings. Use an eagle to pounce on food. Quickly land. Grab a sea monster and lift it out of the sea. And then eat directly. Shillong looked around and found that these sea monsters did not seem to attack the island at all, but seemed to deliver meals to the dragons. The gap in individual combat power is too big. The sea was still rising, and it soon submerged more than 10 meters across the island, and the size of the sea monster was still growing. Several 7-8 meter long sea monsters emerged one after another. This size is already comparable to the young dragon on the island. Some young dragons began to struggle. Silum saw a young dragon descend from a high altitude, grabbing a 7-meter sea monster on all fours, and wanted to lift the sea surface. But the sea monster struggled very hard, and directly fixed the dragon 10 meters away from the sea, swaying there. Several shadows appeared on the sea instantly. Kama suddenly stopped probing at this moment. The magic light on his body surged, and the curse of 20 or 30 syllables was completed in just a second. On the shadow sea below the little dragon, a few 3 or 4 meter old sea monsters just rushed out of the sea. Before they opened their sharp teeth and bit the dragon, the sea began to riot. The white mist is like a whirlpool, and ice blades appearing in the sea out of thin air. A circle with a full diameter of 60 or 70 meters, filled with these ice blades. They are like a meat grinder, crazy while spinning. The sea monsters that were still flying were instantly stirred into it, and the red blood splashed and dyed the sea area red. Shillong also took this opportunity to bite the sea monster he had caught. 2 wings vigorously instigated the dual defense stalemate for several seconds, and finally Shillong killed the sea monster. Then the little dragon gratefully glanced at Commodore. "Children, just do something you can do. You are the future of the Metal Dragon Clan Wuxia world. Online, can't make any accidents here," Kama said to Shillong. Shillong lowered his head, a little embarrassed when he heard the words. He was really careless just now. The huge sea monster would just be handed over to the dragon on Longdao. The little dragon nodded quickly, then lifted off and started looking for a smaller target. Advanced Peeping Magic Eye. The next moment, Karma cast the spell again, and a big eyeball with a diameter of 1 or 2 meters appeared in front of him out of thin air. This magic eye is purple with almond-shaped pupils intertwined with light and dark. After it appeared, Karma closed his eyes. Then the magic eye began to scan the sea for a while. After a few minutes, the magic eye suddenly disappeared, and Karma, who closed his eyes, also opened his eyes. He frowned and said, "These guys, this time you learned well. They hide directly under the island. Let the sea monsters on the island destroy freely. It seems that trying to repel them this time will not be the same as before. It's as simple as that." After speaking, he flew 1 or 2 kilometers to the side, and then used an amplifying spell to shout again. "Old people and older people, I need your power." Layers of sound spread outward, and a real dragon with a head size of at least 20 meters gathered. There are a dozen of them. After these dragons arrived, a golden dragon said, "I just used the exploration spell to find a lot of sea areas, but I didn't find the benthic magic fish. Have you found them?" "No. This offense seems to be different from the past. No matter what, these guys are here to die. They simply can't understand the low-level gap between them and us." A group of dragons discussed the matter. Do you like this site? Donate here. Part 1. Chapter 57 Quiet. Listen to me, everyone. I have found the bottom of the devil fish. They are under each island. We want to defeat them, must go into the water. Kama interrupted the dragons and said, "Go to the sea?" A dragon was slightly silent. Although it is a legendary real dragon, its strength is unparalleled. But in the sea, this is the home ground of the sea monsters. The combat power of all dragons will be reduced. Their breath will not be used, and their movements will become slow. The only difference is the question of how much to lower, especially when the number of such sea monsters is uncountable. Even if they go to sea, maybe they will be in danger? Then go to the sea. Directly defeat them. Some true dragons are fearless. Yes, we must capture them alive this time. These disgusting guys dare to provoke our dragon with their immortality. I want them to know how serious the consequences are. A group of real dragons are noisy, clamoring to teach the bottom-dwelling magic fish to make fish. Kama nodded, and then grouped the dragons into groups. For safety's sake, every 4 dragons were in a group, responsible for a group of benthic magic fish. Before going to the sea, Kama gave the dragons a layer of buffing spells, and then the dragons entered the sea. In the end, only Kama and Shillong were left. Kama said to Silom, "Child, let's go to the sea too. You follow me." Silo nodded when he heard the words. The 2 dragons went down to the sea, and Shillong turned back into his real body. His current size was already comparable to Karma. At this time, there are sea monsters everywhere in the sea. It is really dense. These sea monsters seem to be mad. They usually perceive the breath of the dragon and run around. Now they are like a death squad. Facing Shillong, and Kama launched a death charge. Papa, a group of small things about 1 meter slammed into Shillong's scales and knocked themselves out. Some of them even hit their heads because they were too fast. The sea water quickly dyed red. Kama cast the spell again. Laws? Shocking. This is a very high-level deterrent spell. A circle of invisible ripples spread from Kama's body, and the eyes of marine creatures hundreds of meters around him dizzy and floated toward the sea. "Follow me." Kama's words appeared directly in Shillong's mind. He wandered quickly to the right. The ripples from him continue. As long as those marine creatures get close to Karma, they are really like encountering a power grid. Some float directly out of the sea, and some fall directly down. The 2 dragons swim freely. They have been swimming for 1 or 2 kilometers, and finally large sea monsters about 10 meters in size appear. These sea monsters are no longer afraid of shock. They roared in the sea, dozens of them swarmed up, and there were many more behind them. The battle was really not small. Kama saw this battle without any counsel, and swam directly over to the sea monsters. The size difference between the 2 sides is huge, and Kama is not under pressure to deal with it. But is there too many sea monsters? There are always a few that go around behind Kama and bite him. Shillong also encountered the siege of 20 or 30 big sea monsters. These guys would definitely die when they met Zero. Shillong's power is far greater than Karma. Quickly emptied these sea monsters, and then he helped Kama clean up the rest. At this time, there is no big sea monster to trouble them, but the boundless schools of small fish around have interfered with Shillong and Kama's sight. The 2 dragons searched in the sea for a long time, but they did not find the benthic magic fish. For a long time, Kama said to Shillong, "These bottom-dwelling magic fish are very cunning. They should have seen that they can't beat us alone, so they must be avoiding us now. These fish schools have revealed where we are. What should I do?" Shillong asked. "You can only wait for the dragons of other groups to solve their group of benthic magic fish first. 2 dragons in one group is not enough. Only 4 scattered actions together can prevent the benthic magic fish from escaping. Kama said. This. An irritability arose from the depths of Siro's heart. He felt like he was being teased by these low-level creatures. There's no way to deal with them? This is impossible. There is nothing Shillong. Soderbergh can't solve it. It would be nice if it was on land. I'd just breathe in and let you all die. He wandered irritably for a while, then suddenly turned his head and said to Kama, Teacher, wait here for a while. I will immediately catch those bottom-dwelling magic fish. After, he did not wait for the other party to react, and directly activated the repulsion. Layers of seawater were pushed away by the repulsive force. Siro's surrounding environment became anhydrous. The wings behind him instantly opened, and the red-gold flame ignited. Boom! Shillong is like a king of the sea, starting to rampage in the sea. With the repulsive drainage, Shillong's speed in the sea is also extremely fast, reaching the speed of sound. In this state, as long as the ordinary little sea monster is hit by his repulsive force, it will be hit and shattered. A large tract of small sea monsters was hit to death, and the red color instantly dyed the entire sea area and spread to the surroundings. At the same time, 2 or 3 kilometers to the left of Shillong, 3 strange fishes with a body length of 3 or 4 meters gathered together. These strange fish look a bit like radishes, and the mouths on their heads are wide open, revealing the sharp teeth inside. There are a lot of tentacles under the cheeks on both sides of UU. Reading www.uukina.com has 3 eyeballs on his forehead and 5 or 6 long tails behind him. Wow, 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 wow. A dragon is approaching us again, 2 kilometers away at 10 o'clock. A bottom-dwelling magic fish was talking to the other 2 in a language specific to its own race. After said, the bottom demon fish moved to the right, and the other 2 followed closely. They began to avoid each other. This group of lizards, we will let them know who is the overlord of the sea. The ignorance that believes in the gods will be destroyed by us. Another benthic magic fish said. The bottom-dwelling magic fish have eternal memories. Even if they die, they will pass on their memories. This inheritance is more comprehensive than that of the dragon clan. So comprehensive that even after tens of thousands of years, even hundreds of thousands of years, the memory will not fade. In the distant past, the hatred of the gods when they destroyed the benthic magic fish empire is still vivid. This is also the reason why they never give up and insist on attacking believers. Inferior lizards. They will never find us in the sea. Soon their homes will be destroyed by us. Then they will taste the same taste as we did. The words of a benthic magic fish revealed a delight. They calmly moved to the right, not afraid of being spotted by the dragons in the sea. But suddenly, the lead demon fish stiffened. No, those lizards are not in 10 o'clock directions. They are in a few directions. Still wrong. At 5 o'clock. At 8 o'clock. No, it's really at 10 o'clock. Is still wrong. At 8 o'clock. Bad. He is getting closer and closer to us. At the end, this bottom-dwelling magic fish was a little flustered. The Tentacle. Part 1. Chapter 58. What is going on? Did you get some magic? Calm down. The bottom demon fish immediately swam to his side, and the tail behind him tied him. Quick, run. The dragons are here. They are so fast. They are surrounding us. Our circle is shrinking. The tied benthic magic fish was surprised. The dragon is very fast? What are you kidding about? There should be other creatures in the sea. Don't worry. We are the overlord of the sea. We came just to control him and let him attack those dragons. Fish from the channel. Yes, that's right. Why did I scare myself just now? It's strange. We are the overlord of the ocean. The previously flustered benthic magic fish calmed down. Come, that guy is here. Boom. A violent sonic boom sounded. A black and gold intersecting monster that is dozens of times their size has appeared in their field of vision. The seawater was pushed away layer by layer, driving a huge circular vacuum belt, rushing towards them with unparalleled power. The monster's dark pupils stared at the 3 bottom demon fish, and the stream of golden particles instantly lost one of them. Didn't wait for them to think about what kind of monster it was. Quick, control him, the other 2 shouted. The invisible sound wave of the soul moved towards the black gold monster. The huge figure of Silo charging slightly paused, and various noisy voices rang in his mind. Surrender, surrender, surrender under the great ocean overlord, the benthic magic fish. You were born to surrender to the creatures in front of you. A large flow of information washed through his brain, like hundreds of people whispering in the ear. If they are just simple marine monsters, then with their low IQ and the high biological bloodline power of the benthic magic fish, the monsters will be controlled in an instant. Become their puppet. Shillong was shocked by this stream of consciousness, only frowning and feeling a little irritable. At the moment when his figure stopped, he had reached the bottom of the devil fish, and while the other party's 3 eyes showed horror at the same time, hold them tightly with one paw forward. Only one finally woke up. He didn't have the courage to confront the monster head-on, and he didn't intend to escape. At this moment, his 3 eyes widened. The magic flow in his body burst. Then the body of this magic fish turned grayish-brown, like a statue, losing its breath of life. He committed suicide. Shillong reacted, and the magic power in the other 2 bottom-dwelling magic fishes also began to riot. At the moment when they were about to commit suicide, a huge golden dragon finally arrived. 1,000 meters away, an invisible imprisonment was enclosed between the 2 magic fishes. Body. The 2 magic fish instantly lost control of their bodies, and their 3 eyes stared at Shillong fiercely. Teacher, seeing Kamadan, who was swimming quickly, Shillong called. Fortunately, you stopped them and let the other fish out of control and dispersed. I finally found the place of these 3 magic fishes. What a cunning guy. Relying on his immortality, he committed suicide directly after being caught. Kama said, the life of the bottom-dwelling magic fish is very special. They are pseudo-immortal lives. At the moment of death, the soul will not return to the underworld, nor will it disappear, but will return to the water element plane, rebirth in the plane, and obtain a new body. Their memory will be passed on forever. Only a few exist which can really kill them. Shillong looked at the dead bottom-dwelling demon fish in a daze. Just now, he saw a phantom floating from the dead demon fish. The phantom glanced bitterly at Shillong, and then whirled, disappeared into the sea. Is this the soul of the magic fish? Okay, the magic fish here have been cleaned up. Shillong, you hurry up to support the other dragons, and quickly subdue these magic fishes. Every second of these magic fishes alive, the homes on the island will be destroyed. Kama reminded Tao, then shrank to the size of 4 or 5 meters and jumped on Shillong's back. Shillong didn't dislike Kama sitting on his back, handed the demon fish to the opponent, and then killed it towards other sea areas. Those legendary dragons who were still dealing with the magic fish suddenly saw a monster bigger than them suddenly appear at an extremely fast speed. I was really taken aback. I thought it was a sea monster controlled by a magic fish. This body shape, maybe they will all be folded here. Continued to look carefully for a while, only to see that it was a black gold dragon that I had never seen before. Is the dragon, but not theirs. So these dragons are worried again. It looks like a mutant black dragon in no way. How could such a giant dragon appear in the sea at this knot? Your Majesty, Bahamut will go up again. Am I wrong? Just when they were fully alert, the dragon ignored them and killed the magic fish. They only saw the shrunken Kama on the dragon's back and the 2 captured magic fish, and they were relieved. Turned out to be the reinforcements invited by Elder Kama. This guy, this speed, reliable. After a while, the benthic magic fish here were also cleaned up, and the school of fish dispersed. Then the next place, within half an hour, all the benthic magic fish that came to destroy were caught. Remove 1 suicide, catch 13 alive. This is a record that has never been seen before. In the previous battles for thousands of years, the dragon has only caught 7 lives. The group of dragons grabbed a few bottom-dwelling magic fish and flew into the sky Wuxia world. Online, the sea on the Dragon Island was receding rapidly, and soon there were only a few sea monsters that had not had time to retreat. These sea monsters are struggling, and the surrounding environment has also changed greatly. The trees in the forest fell in pieces, the rocks were displaced, and many hills were destroyed. The group of dragons descended and threw the bottom-dwelling magic fish to the ground. Then this group of legendary dragons began to look at Shillong again, and they are still very curious about this strange-looking big guy. Are much bigger than them, show strong combat power underwater. This time I was able to catch so many bottom-dwelling magic fishes. One of the dragons couldn't help but curiously ask Kama, Elder, who is this dragon? When did it come to Dragon Island? He is Shillong Soderberg, Viola's child. Kama Don landed on the ground from Shillong's back, slowly recovering, and instantly became another Big Mac comparable to Shillong. The 2 dragons stood there a lot taller than the other dragons. Kamadown looked slender and slender. Shillong's limbs were thicker and his neck was slightly shorter. What? Is it Silent? Viola's child. A golden dragon among the legendary dragons said in shock. It is Uncle Oram, who has a good relationship with his mother Viola. At this time, the boss of this golden dragon, with 2 brilliant golden eyes, stared at him. His face was horrified and inexplicable. Although I know that Viola's child is a mutant dragon, it is too scary. How old is this child now? 30. 30. When he was 30, he was bigger than his leg, right? You mutated too thoroughly, right? The race has changed. Hey! Part 1. Chapter 59. Uncle Oram. Silum yelled obediently. Child, you... Oram's expression at this time is so wonderful. He feels too contradictory. I was called uncle by a dragon that was much bigger than myself? The other dragons saw the dialogue between the two dragons and looked at each other. The boss with an open mouth was speechless for a long time. This is a good thing, Kama said when the dragons were silent. This is a legend of our metal dragon family. His growth will never be weaker than that of the legendary dragon, and he has the righteous heart of the metal dragon family. Legendary dragon. A group of dragons heard Kama's words and showed respect to Shillong one by one. In the entire multiverse, the legendary dragon is a very great and rare miraculous creature. In the eyes of humans, orcs, elves, and other humanoid creatures, whether it is a five-color dragon or a metal dragon, it is a legendary miracle life. They have a lifespan of as many as 3,000 or 4,000, and as few as 2,000. As long as they live to 600 or 700 years old, most dragons can enter the miracle of creatures. Legendary level. What an enviable talented life is this. Is simply the darling of the creation god. But despite being so darling, there are still some lives beyond their reach. That is the legendary dragon. The legend in the dragon. They have legendary strengths when they are extremely young. Once it grows to a certain level, it will have the power to rival the gods. The black gold dragon in front of me. Is Shillong also such a great miracle of life? The dragons don't know, but Kamadan is known as the Golden Wisdom, and his words are still very prestigious among the dragons. Therefore, the dragons unconsciously think that Shillong will be a god-level dragon from now on. This kind of dragon, even if it is the of good dragons, Bahamut will respect it, and the dragons dare not neglect. Child, you are the pride of Viola and our Dragon Island, Aurum said excitedly. Shillong just smiled shyly. Other legendary dragons looked at Shillong, and they were also chatting there. It felt like seeing an idol. After a long time, Kama drank the dragons. Okay, stop discussing Shillong. Now, the first thing to discuss is how to deal with these benthic magic fish. Yeah, I haven't dealt with these nasty yet. The dragons woke up and looked at a dozen demon fish with anger. At this moment, these magic fish seemed to be under the spotlight of Baidu. Is too harsh and too hot. But they were not afraid in their hearts, and they stared at the dragons with 3 eyes. Damn thing, I'm going to blow their eyeballs. Dare to be so arrogant in our hands. A dragon said with a little air. Isn't this just what they want? We haven't used righteous torture on them yet. Another dragon stopped. Torture? How to torture? Haven't you tried it a few times before? Put it to death in the sun. Put it alive in a pit. These guys are not afraid. They still come back to retaliate against us. Then think about new ways of torture. We can peel them and cut off their tails. I want to blow their eyes. I want to make them into meatloaf for the beasts outside to eat. A group of dragons discussed fiercely. But the magic fish on the ground were not afraid at all, but looked at them with contemptuous eyes. Damn it, what are these guys' eyes? Are you underestimating us? A dragon said. No way. Is our torture still too light? Then throw them in the dragon dung. Let them swim in it, Silem said suddenly. He thought about the eternal life of these guys. Since they can't die, then give them mental torture. In the previous mental shock, Ciro decided that these guys are all self-respecting people. For this kind of life, we must deal with it in a relatively low way. A group of dragons heard what Ciro said. Their eyes brightened. And one of them said, This is good, but I think I should collect the poops of the poops. Their poops are even more smelly. Doghead's feces? Good proposal. Then you can collect it. Forget it. Let's use dragon dung. I want to cut off their tails, put them in a can, and soak them in acid water. Why use acid water? Use urine bubble. Your proposal is good. The words of a group of dragons, being Shillong, opened the door to a new world. They are not stupid, even very smart. They understood Shillong's meaning in an instant, and soon thought of other coups. More than a dozen bottom-dwelling magic fish on the ground were terrified. Can these guys actually think of soaking them in feces and urine? It's so vicious. How can a marine overlord be so insulted? Why do I go out to see fish in the future? The skin of the benthic magic fish on the ground became greener. Kama has been watching these magic fishes and seeing them change color. She was delighted and said, Just soak them in the dung. Don't they want to destroy our Dragon Island? After soaking the dung, I think they still want skin to face us. These dung fishes. After hearing Kama's decision, the dragons all agreed. Then transported them to a mountain range in the desperate eyes of the benthic magic fish. There is a pothole here, which is full of yellow dung. Because it is in the mountains, it has not been washed by the sea to Wuxia World online, and it is still intact. A legendary dragon smiled and threw the magic fish in his hand into the cesspit. Several dung flowers splashed. Screamed in horror at the other bottom-dwelling demon fish, trying to struggle and couldn't move, and his mentality burst. These magic fish were thrown in like dumplings. The dragons are still outside to admire the expressions of these magic fish. It is really ashamed. The despair in the three eyes is almost overflowing. One by one I feel that Yuxing has no future. At this moment, how much they think they don't have eternal life. Die soon. Is alive. So difficult. After this incident, the dragons of Dragon Island began to work hard to repair Dragon Island. It took more than a year for the initial recovery. The days go back to the past again, but occasionally, some giant dragons go to the dump pit to see the magic fish. Shillong began to learn arcane arts from Kama, but his arcane talent has also said before, it is not good, and the progress has been very slow. This kind of learning lasted for 3 or 4 years. Armin went directly to sleep, and Shillong's patience was limited. He directly put forward his idea of making games to Commodore, but the answer was no. With the legendary arcane level of Kamadown, he couldn't make what Shillong wanted. But there is also good news. If you have a monster called Soul Demon as an alchemy item, you can make games. This Soul Demon is an extremely rare monster in the Abyss world. There are no entities, only souls. Their souls can be freely transformed into any object, and at the same time they can be attached to any dead object. Even if they are living creatures, as long as their strength is above the opponent, they can also be attached. Part 1. Chapter 60. As long as there is a Soul Demon. With the Soul Demon's ability to transform, many problems can be solved completely. But this thing is in the Abyss. Shillong still remained in awe of the Abyss. At this stage, with his caution, he dare not go. The Abyss is called the Bottomless Abyss. No existence knows how the Abyss appeared. It seems to have existed since the beginning of the universe. The oldest thinks it was created by Ao, the of creation. Various monsters live inside. It is connected to other universes, and it is the most unfathomable plane of the entire Tolvir universe. Even the gods cannot peek at its root cause. According to legend, in the distant past, the gods once tried to destroy the Abyss, but failed. Because the Abyss is bottomless, the gods have been attacking thousands of levels, but they still haven't touched the bottom of the Abyss. Instead, he was almost assimilated by the Abyss, and the allied gods were defeated. Because of this, the Abyss is stained with a layer of mystery. All gods are afraid of 3 points. Shillong naturally did not dare to go to the Abyss, although the number of layers in front of the Abyss is not high and deep. But Echelon's calm character is naturally not risky. Of course, there are other ways, but Karma feels more difficult than the first one, so I didn't mention it. The idea of making the game was interrupted. The progress of learning arcane arts is abnormally slow, but you can't learn it. After Shillong woke up, another 10 years passed. Shillong is now 40 years old. Arcane level has also reached the point of 13th. In the human world, it can be regarded as an arcane master. Armin has woken up at this time. Entering adolescence, he is already 6 meters tall. And Shillong is already over 40 meters. Has a full wingspan of more than 90 meters. A dragon of this level, in Kama's words, is basically invisible in the main material world, and is already in the ranks of the ancient dragon. Stepped into the astral world. This gave Shillong a little peace of mind, at least in the main material interface. His safety has risen again. 40 years old, Shillong is also ready to go outside. On this day, Shillong, Armin, Viola, the mother, and the 3 dragons gathered together again. Viola looked at the 2 dragons with a distressed look. Soren, Armin, you must be more careful when you are outside. It is important to punish and eliminate evil. But if we can't beat us, let's run. Mom doesn't want you to. What's the accident? Don't worry, mother, my flying speed is absolutely superb. I can't beat me to escape immediately. I believe no creature can catch up with me. Shillong believed. I don't want to talk about the strength. Zero is really confident in his speed. Is like the young silver dragon of Armin, whose fastest flight speed is almost 30 to 40 meters per second. Viola's 70 or 80 meters per second. Shillong has surpassed the speed of sound 20 years ago. He had not calculated the speed at that time, but this time he roughly tested his speed. Flying at the fastest speed, Armin couldn't see Shillong at all. He could only see a bunch of golden streamers dragging a long tail wing. Has reached 3 to 4 times the speed of sound. This kind of speed is far from other creatures. According to Shillong, there are only a handful of people in this world that can reach supersonic speed. At this speed, can you feel pressure to run? Shillong's confidence in his life-saving ability is far above his own combat power. On escape, Shillong is invincible. Mom, don't worry. With a big guy like Shillong, I don't believe who dares to bully us. You should pray that the big guy Shillong will not bully others. Armin's head tilted up 90 degrees, looking at the extremely tall Shillong, a little speechless. So you have to follow him in the future. Don't get too far away from him, you know? What else? You two have to sleep together when you sleep. The outside is no better than Dragon Island. It's dangerous, Viola warned. Mom, don't worry. Armin should be going to the outside world this time. Armin is ready to make more money. He has heard what Siro said. This time he is going out, he will start filming as a director again, and the film this time will be completely aimed at humans. And very different from the previous ones, Shillong paid much more attention to this time than before. This makes Armin full of expectations for the gold coins he can earn next. Humans outside, you all wait for me. All the gold coins in your pockets are mine. Finally, after saying goodbye to his mother a few words, Armin jumped on Shillong's back. Shillong flapped his wings lightly and quickly flew away through the barrier above the Dragon Island. Viola stood on the spot, watching the two dragons that disappeared quietly until she couldn't see them at all. She said to herself, when the child grows up, I will leave Long Island. See you next time if you have a chance, dears. After said, she flew away from Long Island in the other direction. Shillong flew Armin for a while, and he stopped in the air and said, Armin, you hold my neck tightly, I will start to accelerate. Oh, okay. Armin replied, and walked to the place where Shillong's back was near his neck. The man stood up like a koala, his limbs gripped Shillong's neck tightly. Shillong long. Shillong adjusted the position of his wings, and the jet nozzle at the end of the dragon wing flashed with golden light from time to time. Let's go, fell with his voice. The red golden light at the end of the dragon wing is bright. There was a blast, a cloud of gas appeared in the same place, and the figure of Shillong disappeared instantly. Above the sky, a kilometer away from the ground, a black and gold meteor pulled out a 1,000-meter-long red gold tail. Whenever a shooting star flies a kilometer away, the rumbling sound will ring through the sky. The air current cut through Shillong's body like a sharp blade. But these blades are no different from the breeze for Shillong. He enjoys the extreme speed across the sky. But Armin, who was holding him, didn't enjoy it so much. He feels her all over. Some claws can't hold Shillong's neck. So he hurriedly shouted, West! Of the violent air current poured into Armin's mouth, making him unable to even speak. Shillong continued to fly. Armin, your scream cannot even reach his ears. The speed of sound is only 300 meters per second. The moment Armin yelled out, Shillong flew out of kilometers, at a speed far exceeding the speed of sound. In this state, Armin could not stop Shillong from flying. The violent wind blade, the air current cuts him, and the beautiful scale armor has many slight scratches, and it is getting bigger and bigger. Damn it, this is no way to continue. Armin finally found that something was wrong, and hurriedly beat Shillong with his head and tail. After beating for several seconds, Siro turned his head and looked at Armin behind him. This look finally found that something was wrong. Hurriedly stopped, a little embarrassed. Is it all right, Armin? Bastard. Bastard. Shillong, you bastard. Look at my beautiful scales. It's all scratches. And my head hurts. My limbs are almost exhausted. Armin screamed. Part 1. Chapter 61. I'm sorry, Shillong said in embarrassment. You big bastard. I'll fly slower next, don't worry. Shillong said, flapping his wings and flying. This time his flying speed is only 70 or 80 meters per second. Of course, this is not the full speed of his normal flight, but the real slowness. You will stop, Armin cried. I haven't repaired my scales yet. How can I see other creatures like this? Shillong. Okay, you can fix it slowly. So he stopped flying. Armin spent more than an hour in the sky, finally repairing the scales shiny. The two dragons are back on the road. In the sky not far away, a 100-meter-long magic-guided flying ship is flying slowly. This space search ship is a bit like a Blue Star aircraft, but without wings. It is surrounded by several huge blue halos. Looks very magical. It is hard to believe that this kind of high-tech product will appear in a backward magical world. Inside the spaceship, a handsome and young man dressed in a white robe is sitting on the main seat. He held a goblet in his hand, gently shook the glass with his right hand, and there was a bright red, unknown liquid in the glass. He looked boredly at the empty sky outside the window. How long will it take to go back? Turio, he asked. Your Highness, at the current rate, it will take 2 days and 2 nights. Not far from the man's lower seat, sitting a middle-aged man in a blue and black magic robe. I can't wait to go back and see if all the things I want have been collected. The handsome man who was called His Royal Highness smiled. His Royal Highness, although your collection order has been issued, it is naturally enough to complete with the strength of the Empire, but the time is too short now. The 5-color dragon may be easy to capture, but the metal dragon is not easy. Especially the golden dragon and silver dragon are the most difficult to capture. I'm afraid I will disappoint your highness. Middle-aged mage, Tulio said with a light smile. The army of the Empire is invincible. There is nothing that the Empire cannot do, Tulio. Those guys outside the magic technology who are still stuck in the ancient times can't defy the Empire at all. The same goes for the dragons. Their flesh and spells are not worth mentioning. The man said, all the words in were pride and confidence in the Empire, and disdain for the outside world. Because of this, the Empire has been cursed by the gods. Your Highness, our technology has not progressed for decades. Tulio worried. Huh. The man called his Royal Highness grunted, obviously a little displeased. Even so, the Empire is invincible. The gods cannot defeat us. They are afraid of us. Just after speaking, his Royal Highness, who had been watching the sky outside, suddenly shocked. He saw a huge black gold dragon flying by a few hundred meters away from the spaceship, carrying a silver dragon on its back. A silver dragon that is difficult to catch. A giant dragon of unknown species? Very good. My collection is almost ready. This thought flashed past. His Royal Highness slammed the blue button on the seat with his left hand, and then said loudly, "Control room, turn me around immediately, and catch up with the black dragon behind." Tullian, who was in the starting position, was slightly surprised at this unexpected event and did not speak. The speaker installed in an inconspicuous corner on the inner wall of the airship suddenly replied, "Yes." The entire airship made a turn, seeing that the black dragon has flown thousands of meters. The blue light circle surrounding the airship was bright, chasing the black dragon at a speed of more than 300 meters per second. As soon as he turned his head, Turio saw his Highness goal, and he was a little surprised. "Your Highness, that black dragon is not easy to provoke. Just looking at its size, it is definitely above the ancient dragon." "Why? Are you scared? The Empire's army is invincible. Warships are invincible. The lizards with wings can compete with the invincible ships. They are only worthy of staying in my cage for me to watch." His Royal Highness does not care. The battleship he was riding was a Marshall-class battleship, the absolute master of the sky. Several legendary dragons have been killed. His Royal Highness, I think it's better to be more cautious. This giant dragon gives me a very bad feeling. Just looking at it makes me a little uneasy. Turio persuaded. "You have fallen, Tulio. Do you think we will lose? It's ridiculous. Let all the soldiers on the spaceship tell the answer." After His Highness finished speaking, he took the blue button again and said, "Everyone tell me. Us. Is his fleet invincible? Will the capture of the dragon fail? Our fleet is invincible. The capture will never fail." There were a lot of sounds on the surrounding walls. These voices are full of fanaticism. "Have you heard? Your so-called uneasiness is useless. Everyone thinks we are invincible." His Highness said, "Crazy. Everyone in the Empire is crazy. They have fallen into blindness. The past glory made everyone lose their minds." Turio sighed slightly, hoping that this anxiety is unnecessary. The flying ship and the dragon gradually moved closer. Shillong glanced at the spaceship curiously when he passed Armin on his back. This spaceship looks so high-tech. Sure enough, the scientific and technological strength of human beings cannot be underestimated. My expectation is correct. The world is too big, and there are too many things that I don't understand, so I must maintain enough when traveling abroad. Shillong did not intend to provoke this 100-meter-long spaceship. He turned his head and continued flying. What a big monster! What kind of monster is that? It is so big. Armin also looked at the airship in shock. Who knows? Shillong didn't reply. "Oh, Shillong, the monster turned around. What does it want to do? Want to fight? Are you sure to kill him?" Armin said nervously. "Okay." Silo turned his head when he heard the words and frowned slightly. "What does the guy want to do? You're not really looking for something, right?" Ciro looked at each other while flying. "They found us." His Royal Highness looked at the heart of the black dragon, who turned his head and gave orders at the same time. "Titan Killer. Recharges. Launches after 10 seconds. One shot will solve the black dragon for me." The flying ship followed the black dragon until 10 seconds later. At the nose of the airship, an iron plate suddenly disappeared, revealing a muzzle with a caliber of more than 4 meters. The muzzle was shining with hot white light, dazzling and dazzling. The next instant, white light burst out, and an unfortunate bird along the way was swept by the white light, and it disappeared in this world without even a scream. The space around seems to be twisting slightly, changing color. Boom! The white light shot straight on Shillong's flank. With a huge roar Wuxia world, the online Shillong was surrounded by a mushroom cloud with a diameter of 100 meters. He was pushed 100 meters away by the impact of the explosion to stabilize his figure, and felt a scorching force burning his scales. It's a pity that he himself is a fire dragon, and this level of flame can't help him. Only the previous explosion caused him damage. Glanced at the scales that he was hit by the shelling. Several pieces were already distorted and deformed. Is this the first injury since birth? Although maybe not even broken skin. But this degree of injury is indeed the first time since birth. I encountered trouble when I first went out. Just use it to try my current strength. Shillong didn't admit it either. I'll fight first, but I can't run it. I'm 3 or 4 times the speed of sound. You guys only deserve to smell my fart. He turned Armin into a human form, and then hid in his mouth. Then, the red gold flame at the end of the dragon wing flourished. Boom! Only a burst of gas left in place. The mushroom cloud that originally covered him was instantly dispersed. The red golden flame pulls out a long tail wing, extending towards the farther sky. His Royal Highness, staying inside the fleet, saw the mushroom cloud being washed away, but there was no dragon before, so he was a little puzzled, although his Titan killer was infinitely powerful. Even just hit. One shot can kill a legendary Titan with a height of more than 30 meters, and the big killer of a legendary dragon. But the dragon before it looks not small, and its strength is definitely not bad. Part 2. How could it disappear in a single shot? Is this unknown dragon a silver gun candlehead? Part 1. Chapter 62. Seeing the black and gold monster disappear, the alarm bell in Tulio's heart did not stop. The bad premonition in my heart is getting stronger. Suddenly, he stood up, rushed to the seat of His Highness, and quickly pressed the blue button on the left hand of His Highness and shouted, "Listen, everyone! Open the protective cover immediately!" Maximum. As the sound fell, a blue protective cover appeared on the outside of the spacecraft. The thickness of the protective cover was far more than normal, about 1 meter full. This kind of protective shield is extremely strong. There are no 20 or 30 legendary mages. Don't want to easily break it. His Royal Highness looked at Tulio, who gave the order, with a slight irritation. He just wanted to say something. Suddenly, the whole spaceship seemed to be hit by something, and the sky was spinning around. His Royal Highness staggered to the ground. The wine glass in his hand was also broken, and the red liquid spilled all over the ground. The surrounding objects collapsed, kept shaking. His Royal Highness yelled in fright. "What is going on? Turn on 360-degree monitoring for me." Toot toot. As the voice of His Highness fell, dozens of screens appeared in the void, reflecting everything outside clearly. A red gold streamer turned to turn, like a meteor, and slammed into the spaceship again. There was another violent vibration inside the spaceship. "Your Majesty, something is not so good. There is a red gold meteor hitting us crazy. Our energy is declining rapidly. Now, it is only 86%. Boom. 83%, boom, 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 tilde 81%, 79%, 72%. In the sky outside, I saw a red gold meteor crashing frantically around the spaceship. The entire meteor was in a figure-8 shape and hit the center of the spaceship. From a distance, the sky was filled with red gold trajectories. It was extremely beautiful. Damn it, we're going to be finished like this. Seeing that the energy is getting lower and lower, the Majesty became anxious and shouted, "All the secondary artillery will attack me. Shoot me the black meteor. Bastard, what is it? How dare to provoke the Empire?" "Yes, Your Highness." On the outside of spacecraft, holes were exposed one by one, and dozens of gun barrels of different sizes appeared inside, and then various shells were fired at the Chijin meteor, including live shells and energy shells. For a time, the entire sky was covered by artillery fire. It's useless. These are useless at all. The Chijin meteor is the previous black gold monster. Titan Killer can't deal with that monster. What use are these secondary guns? Tulio saw everything. Here, my heart is extremely clear. He is a 19th level mage himself. How can his vision be comparable to that of ordinary people? And defeat is doomed. The princes and soldiers of the Empire are still sinking into the invincibility of the Empire. It seems that there is no option of failure in life. Tulio clearly knew what he should do next, and he chanted the spell silently. Shillong used his maximum speed to hit the spaceship for 20 or 30 times, but he still couldn't break through the protective shield, which made Shillong a little surprised. He hit 3 or 4 times the speed of sound. Even if it was just one shot, it's enough to crash a mountain, and now that the protective shield can't be broken in 20 or 30 times, the defensive ability of this ship is too strong, and it also has dozens of gun barrels. These artillery fires still look quite bluffing. The sky full of artillery fire is more than enough to deal with ordinary dragons, but it is far from enough to deal with him, and it is almost the same to tickle him. Silo slammed into the gunfire a few more times. At most, it just hits the airship like a ball and flies around, and I don't know when it will break. With a little irritability in his heart, he stopped at a distance of 600 or 700 meters above the spaceship, suddenly opened his mouth, spit out Armin inside, and said, "Armin, you hide behind me." Armin heard this and hid behind Shillong obediently. It's the black gold monster? He didn't die, and he didn't seem to be seriously injured. How is this possible? That's the Titan Killer, who can kill the legendary monster with one blow. His Royal Highness was shocked. At this time, the spaceship's artillery fire finally hit Shillong, exploding in front of him like fireworks, but it didn't work at all. Took a deep breath. Shillong's abdomen immediately bulged, and the scales opened unnaturally. The red golden light shines through the chest and abdomen, illuminating the entire sky. Radiate to the surroundings. The entire sky is covered by red golden light. Shillong's neck slowly moved back, and the light from his abdomen slowly moved to his neck and mouth. Then suddenly opened his mouth, hush. A very dazzling red gold light group with a diameter of 2 or 3 meters suddenly flew out of Shillong's mouth and fell to the airship under him at a rapid speed. The artillery fire along the way disappeared when it approached the golden ball of light for tens of meters. It is like a small sun, dyed half of the sky red. The red gold half of the sky, as if the sky was falling, pressed towards the spaceship. The ordinary people in the spaceship could only close their eyes instinctively after seeing the light group, but Tulio had the next move. He quickly hugged His Royal Highness, who was not far away, and then a burst of white light came from them. Flashed, the two disappeared at the moment the red, golden ball of light fell. When the ball of light hit the spaceship, rumbling TNT lost its voice at this moment. The endless white light burst out suddenly. The protective cover of the entire spaceship is like thin paper, melting instantly, and the spaceship is vaporized in an instant. In an instant, this ball of light burst into a high temperature of hundreds of millions of degrees. Space is distorting. Rumbling, the explosion formed a huge two-way mushroom cloud. The shock waves spread wildly around with the hot white light. Shillong looked at the huge mushroom cloud and nodded slightly. It was clean now. This breath is a new ability after 10 years of advancement, and the power is more violent than ever. If the previous breath was the fission breath, now it is the fusion breath. Shillong called it nuclear calm breath. Just let my nuclear pacify and bring peace to the world. The world needs to change, needs salvation. After Shillong's nuclear exhalation calmed his breath, his entire dragon flew farther away to avoid the explosion. Armin's head stretched out from behind him. At this moment, he had become a dragon. He glanced at the white light and suddenly felt very dazzling. He quickly closed his eyes and said, "Soren, you bastard. Do you want to be so big?" "No way. That thing is too hard. I can't break it," Shillong said, and then left here with Armin. The explosion continues to spread, but there is no need to watch it anymore. Everything here is over. Several kilometers away on the sea, Tulio hugged His Royal Highness and floated on the water. The prince glanced at the white light of the explosion unconsciously. Just one glance, he couldn't help screaming, his eyes tingling fiercely. Tears are shed without money. That kind of feeling, it's like buckle down one's eyeballs and put them on the fire to grill. "Your Highness, don't look at it." Tulio quickly covered the other's eyes, and Yu reading www.yu.com hugged and dived into the sea. The shock wave arrived late at this time and swept across the sea. Boom! The sea surface swept by the shock wave was instantly sunk by this terrifying force for dozens of meters. The sea exploded. Roll up the huge waves hundreds of meters high. Boom, the sea is raging. For a long time, the sky and the sea finally gradually recover tranquility. But there are hundreds of thousands of marine creatures floating on the surface of the sea with a radius of several kilometers. Dense. They rolled their eyes and lay on their sides on the sea, already dead in the impact just now. Turio took the prince to emerge from the sea thousands of meters away. It's finally over. Turio looked at the floating fish in the sea behind him, and the gray sky lingering in the sky, unknown and terrifying. It's really terrible. What kind of attack is this? This level of energy attack can only be launched by gathering the 12 spires in the main city of the Empire. Its power is comparable to a legendary god-killing spell above level 12. Part 2. My eyes. My eyes. It hurts. It hurts. Tulio. His Highness wailed, interrupting Tulio's thoughts. "Your Highness, please bear with me a little bit. The old minister will immediately take you back to the Empire for treatment," Tulio said. "Quick, take me back. Get out of here. That monster. It has such power. This is definitely a demigod monster. This time I planted it. I underestimated this lizard." His Highness was very frightened. Finally, Turio took out a huge round sphere from the space equipment. The two entered it from the top, dived into the water, and disappeared. Part 1. Chapter 63. Shillong carried Armin slowly towards the main city of Shillong Kingdom, Shillong City. This is already the base camp of the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce. Flying all the way for 7 or 8 hours, the sky was already dim, and Xylem had only arrived near Shillong City. Taking advantage of the dim sky, Xylem landed outside the forest 7 or 8 kilometers away from Shillong City. When he landed, the surrounding earth was shaking. The beasts in the forest sensitively felt the overwhelming ominous aura and fled in all directions. The forest is full of chaos. Many low-level adventurers suffer from unexplainable disasters, encounter some high-level monsters, and then are killed by groups of monsters that fled in panic. Shillong and Armin, who landed on the ground, quickly turned into human form. Shillong's current human form is a child about 10 years old. 20 years ago, his human form was a 4 to 5-year-old child. A 10-year-old child is dressed in an aristocratic blue and gray costume. Looks quite handsome. The type that Armin becomes is an elf. Looks like a human being about 14 years old. He looks very handsome, and he is wearing a very saucy silver armor. Okay, real silver. His coat was originally a noble costume, but this kid likes silver. So let the alchemist on Dragon Island do a favor. Melt hundreds of silver coins. Make these silver coins into small scales, and then inlay them on the clothes. The whole piece of clothes and trousers, if under the noon sun, can reflect the dazzling light. After he became an elf, he cast a contemptuous look at Shillong and said triumphantly, "Shillong, now know who is the brother and who is the younger brother. You kid, who is the eldest brother and who is the younger brother? Do you think that being human can beat me?" Synopsis said. Armin chuckled. When he walked to Shillong, he gestured his height with his right hand. At this time, Shillong was only as tall as Armin's neck. 2 dragons, one in their 60s and one in 4. "I only saw reality," he said. "You idiot." Shillong didn't bother to pay attention to him. This kid always had some problems with his brain. The 2 dragons ran toward Shillong City. The speed is also extremely slow, maintaining a speed of more than 20 meters per second. But he didn't run far. Shillong stopped for a moment, and Armin looked at Shillong questioningly. "What's wrong with you?" "Danger. Too dangerous," Synopsis said with a solemn expression. "It is too dangerous for us to become humans. The spaceship I encountered before is powerful enough, and I hit it dozens of times without breaking it. What a high-tech this is. This fully demonstrates the power of mankind. It is too dangerous for us to become human." Shillong becomes a human form, and his strength will be reduced by more than 90%, possibly reaching 95%. This degree of weakening does not mean that the human-shaped Shillong can fight against the dragon-shaped Shillong as long as 20. This is strength and all-round weakening. Make an analogy. If he has 10% of Shillong's all-round power, he can naturally not only defeat 5%, but at least a dozen. Then 15%? What? How many 5% can you beat? This value may be 3 digits. The difference between 100% and 5% is definitely the difference between heaven and earth. Maybe hundreds of thousands? Medial? Tens of millions? Still hundreds of millions? Because of this gap, Shillong is a little uneasy. Although his human form is still very strong compared to ordinary humans, he has always been accustomed to the invincible power of the dragon body, and his current power is too weak. He thought for a moment, and finally his eyes lit up. Since the human form is weak, let's change it. His body was slightly distorted again, and when he was shaped again, he had become a boy with a height of 1.5 meters and all parts of his body covered with black scales. There is a pair of folded wings behind, and golden light flashes occasionally between the gaps between the scales. His pupils are just like that of a dragon. The pair of dragon horns on his forehead were bent and stretched towards the sky. The nails on my hands are thick and black. He became a dragonborn. Dragonborn is the product of the combination of giant dragon and humanoid species. Metal dragon and 5-color dragon have ancestors combined with humanoid creatures. The difference between the two is that if the 5-color dragon does not have a giant dragon object during the estrus period, then it is very likely to find a species to combine at will, and this species may be human. Generally speaking, this human being will be more miserable because the 5-color dragon never looks at the low-level creatures like humans. The general 5-color dragon descendant is a role that the father does not love and the mother does not love. This kind of dragon descendant is more tragic. It is very likely to be stunned, and if lucky enough to survive, most of them will become an individual that is extremely harmful to society, generally called the devil dragon descendant. The metal dragon and the dragon descendants born of humans are happier, because the combination of the two is because of love, although human life is relatively short. But as long as the metal dragon falls in love with this human being, it will remain loyal to this love before the end of human life. They will also treat this dragonborn properly, and the dragonborn will be loved by his parents in his childhood. But the metal dragons will not bring their dragonborn children into their own metal dragon society, but let them continue to stay in human society, because the metal dragons believe that human society is more suitable for the survival of dragon descendants Wuxia world online over time. The dragon descendants of metal dragons have also become a huge ethnic group, are collectively referred to as good dragon descendants. Shillong looks like a dragon descendant in no way. Armin looked at Shillong and asked, "What are you?" "Safe," Synopsis replied. "You also become the dragonborn. This way our power will be stronger than in other forms." At this time, Shillong is about 3 times stronger than his human form, is close to 15% of the dragon shape. Armin hesitated. Finally, he said, "Forget it," he refused. The silver dragon seems to have a special love for creatures like elves. This seems to be passed down from inherited memory. This may be because the elves are the most beautiful creatures among the humanoid creatures. Of course, the most important thing is that the human form of Mother Viola is an elf. Soren, you guys are there anyway. You will protect me, right? Mom told you this. Now I know who is the eldest brother. Who is the younger brother? Ciro smiled. Of course I am the big brother. You are half a head shorter than me now. Armin said. Let's go. Riding on the sun before it sets, let's rush to Shillong City to speak. After Shiren finished speaking, the two dragons continued to run quickly. Ran all the way to Shillong City. It took almost 17 or 18 minutes. Originally, at a speed of more than 20 meters per second, it only took 7 or 8 minutes to reach Shillong City. But Armin, a weak chicken, became even weaker after he became an elf. More than 20 meters per second was his highest speed. After a few minutes, he became sluggish and his speed was greatly reduced. Do you like the sight? Donate here. Part 1. Chapter 64 finally came to Shillong City. This city has a very large exterior wall. Surrounded the entire city. This is also because this is in the magical world, with the profession of mage. Shillong City, as the main city of the Shillong Kingdom, naturally possesses strong magic power. It's not surprising that there are walls surrounding the entire city. At the gate, there are 7 or 8 soldiers in black iron armor, holding the gate strictly. The arrival of the two dragons of Xylem and Armin just made them take a look. In Shillong Kingdom, not only humans live in it, it can be called an international city. There are humans, dwarves, elves, dwarfs, and naturally dragon descendants. However, Dragonborn belong to a rare race, and most of those who enter the city are good Dragonborn. And the black scales that Shillong now covers on his body look like the black Dragonborn. Therefore, one of the guard captains looked at the two dragons with a slight gaze and said, Black Dragonborn, and this elf. Starland Kingdom welcomes the arrival of any race, but the premise is that they must abide by the discipline here. If you dare to disrupt the order of the city, the Starland Kingdom will never let him go. Please remember. Of course, he said this to Shillong. Armin, who appeared as an elf, will be welcomed no matter where he was. Of course, I will definitely obey the discipline. Xylem replied. The guard quickly put two dragons inside. At this time, the sky is already dim, but the inside is much brighter, and the outside is completely two worlds. There are many street lights on the side of the road. The streets are full of pedestrians and roadside stalls. The whole city is full of voices, and it is peaceful. This is very different from what Shillong had imagined. He thought that the Starland Kingdom should lean towards the level of the European Middle Ages, but he did not expect it to be so prosperous. In the memory of the Dragon Clan's inheritance, there are not many countries with advanced magic technology. Most of them are medieval scenes. At least they have the kind of technology empire with airships that won't be damaged by dozens of hits. Shillong's inheritance memory does not exist. Maybe there are other dragons, but the inheritance memories of the dragons are not the same. The ancestors are not all the same, and the memories passed down are also different, and the inheritance memories will only be passed down. For the dragons, a very small part of them makes their memory especially new memories. Armin was also dazzled by the sight before him, staring blankly for a while. The arrival of the two dragons will not attract the attention of too many pedestrians on the street, but there will always be some people with ulterior motives who notice the two dragons. A blonde beauty with a prominent figure and beautiful appearance in leather armor, about 20 years old, noticed Liang Long, and then walked towards Liang Long with a smile on his face. Did the two little brothers come from outside? She asked in a very gentle and kind tone, like a patient older sister. Yes. Hello, little sister, Armin said with a smile. He is 40 this year, and the woman in front of him seems to be in her 20s, so there is nothing wrong with it. Little sister? The woman was taken aback for a moment. Then she glanced at the other's earlobes, and she was clear in her heart. Just now, she only looked at the outfits of the two of them, almost forgetting that the elves are longevity species. Although the elven boy in front of her looked only 5 years old, but the real age must be 30 or 40 years old. Brother Elf, and this little brother of Dragonborn. Should they need a guide for the first time in Shillong City? How about I take you around? The woman said. We are here to find Andre. Armin said. Andre? Sorry. The population of Shillong City is too large, and I don't know the person you are looking for. Let's go shopping first. Tomorrow morning, you can ask the sheriff in the city to help you find what you are looking for. Andre. Andre Claudius? Don't you know? That told me that he is very famous now. The entire Starland Kingdom knows him. Armin said angrily. Sorry, I don't really know Andre. The woman apologized. This shameless bastard. Sure enough, it's not reliable. The Shillong shouldn't work with him. Give him so much money. Armin cursed in his heart. We are here to find the Sodbury Chamber of Commerce. Shillong changed his explanation. Solberg Chamber of Commerce. The woman exclaimed, looked up and down the two dragons, and finally glanced at the two dragons' clothes and fingers. Seems to have made up a certain resolution. She smiled and said, of course the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce knows, but their address is on the west side of the city. Ours is the east side of the city. The distance is too far. Even if you take a carriage now, it will take more than half a day. It may not be there. Why don't you go shopping with my sister? My sister invites you to eat delicious food. Please eat something delicious? Armin's eyes lit up and he nodded and said, okay, then please lead me to the trouble. Woman, let's call my name. My name is Anna, my little girl's name. It feels so strange you two are so young after all. The woman, Anna, laughed. Well then, Anna, take me to eat delicious food. I don't know how your human food is. Armin said. Regarding Armin's request, Shillong did not say anything to stop him. Someone had a treat, so why not do it? You could save a lot of money again. Damn, why do I care more and more about these foreign objects? Two dragons followed Anna for a while Wuxia World, got online, and entered a mercenary tavern. The area inside is not particularly large, only about 70 or 80 square meters. There are only 3 or 4 of the 7 or 8 tables sitting in 2s and 3s. These people are the kind of men who look quite strong, wearing leather armor and carrying various weapons like the name of the tavern outside. These people should be mercenaries. Mercenaries are a group of people with a higher income who lick their blood. Most of them will go to the mercenary union to pick up tasks, or go to the nearby wild to hunt for supplies. Because it is to make money by fate, the annual income of ordinary people is 3 or 4 gold coins, so the mercenary will at least increase by 3 or 4 times. Most of the food on their table is grilled meat and a barrel of beer. The food is very generous. Everyone paused slightly after seeing Anna taking Shillong and Armin in, and then continued drinking and bragging nonchalantly. Anna grinned and said to the two dragons, it's here, two little brothers, don't see how bad this place is, but the chef here is definitely a master, and the meat is the favorite of nearby mercenaries. As long as you have tasted wine, there is no one that is not good. Then give us a taste. Armin said anxiously. I'll let you taste it right away. Go and sit down first. I'll order a few wines and dishes and come here right away. Anna said. Okay. Anna, thank you. You really are a good person. Armin said. Huh? It's all because of our destiny. I saw the two little brothers and found them very kind. After eating this meal, we are friends. Anna smiled especially friendly. Part 1. Chapter 65. Good. You are my first human friend of Armin. Armin said happily. Shillong just watched but didn't speak. Anna arranged for the two dragons to sit down and walk to the counter by herself. The man guarding the counter was a bald man in his 40s who looked very strong. He was the owner of the tavern. He was also a mercenary when he was young, and he was very lucky to have worked for many years. After successfully retreating to open this tavern, the business was not bad. The tavern keeper watched Anna arrive and asked, what do you want? 3 copies of black pork, 3 copies of long-billed duck, 3 copies of yogurt, a barrel of great spirits, double the precision. Anna whispered, Roar, this time you have so much money? It's not the same as usual. The boss was a little surprised, and then he carefully looked at Armin and Shillong. Hurry up and serve me wine and food. You can't do without these two. No problem. The boss smiled and turned to shout a few words into the kitchen. Anna returned to her seat and chatted with the two dragons. This woman is more talkative. It didn't take much time to make Armin laugh, and her affection greatly increased. Anna may also feel that Shillong is not good, so she focuses her energy on Armin. Shillong has been listening to the conversation between one person and one dragon. It didn't take long for the boss to prepare dining utensils for the 3 of them, an iron fork, a knife, a wooden cup, and an iron plate. Then the boss came over with a wooden barrel in his right arm. He pulled the cork and filled the 2 dragons and one person, while saying, 3 guests, you have to wait for the dishes. You can special fire. Strong wine? The taste is definitely strong. Really good wine that only real men can drink. The wine in the wooden cup looks transparent, but it is a bit muddy, smells a bit pungent, but also has a fragrance. This aroma directly attracted the attention of the mercenaries around, and one of them shouted, Boss, what kind of wine are you? Why is it so fragrant? I haven't drank it in months since I came here. Are you hiding yourself? Huh? This is the boss's fire spirit. 1 gold coin a barrel. You can want to try. Someone laughed. 1 gold coin? The person who spoke earlier was surprised. Although he is a highly paid mercenary, he dare not drink this wine. This bucket went down, and it was dry for more than a month. I have to save money to get a beautiful wife. This money can't be spent like that. The man immediately closed his mouth and ate his barbecue and 50 copper barrels of ale. Why? I know this thing. I heard that humans love to drink it. Today I also taste what it tastes like. Armin said, quickly took a sip from the wooden cup. His drinking method inherited the boldness of the dragon. 1 big mouthful. With a sip of wine, Armin put down the wine glass, frowned and savored it carefully. Well, it feels a bit spicy. It seems quite ordinary. Why do humans like to drink so much? Are you okay? Anna looked at Armin dumbfounded. There is something. What should I do? Armin puzzled. Huh? Little brother is really huge. Let's go on. Anna quickly took a smile and took a sip to signal Armin to continue. And Armin took another gulp. This way of drinking, Anna's eyes twitched slightly. This time big business did not look very good. But this can't stop her determination. Whether to become a lady, to raise a macho, or to go to work in the sea depends on this vote. I believe in my own vision. These two alien imps are definitely not simple. Come on, don't be idle, brother Shillong. Drink. Anna did not forget Shillong either. Shillong nodded and took a sip. The taste is not bad. This wine should be similar to Blue Star's white wine. As a Blue Star human, he didn't like to drink, but now he has turned into a Dragonborn. And he actually likes the taste a bit. Shillong picked up the wooden cup and drank it all in just a few sips. Who good? Silem exclaimed, then looked at Anna, who was looking ugly, and said, You drink too. Don't just look at us drinking, it's embarrassing. I drink. Anna smiled awkwardly, and then Xiaomin took a few mouthfuls. She exhaled and said, It seems that this bucket is not enough. The two little brothers continued to drink. I'm adding some wine. She came to the counter again and whispered to the boss. 3 times the amount and another bucket. No problem. The boss smiled, turned around and took out a bucket inside and placed it next to the 2 dragons. The 3 guys continued to drink, and it didn't take long for the dishes to start. Becomes drinking and eating and talking. Anna is talking most of the time. She rarely drinks, but she often calmly urges Shillong and Armin to drink. The 2 little dragons drank a lot for this. The first barrel of wine was quickly dried up. Armin drank about 35%, Shillong had 55%, and the remaining 10% was naturally drank by Anna. This woman has been forced to drink by Shillong. Is already a little drunk at this time. Her face was flushed, and she smiled and shouted, Come on, keep drinking. Today is not finished until you 2 fall down if you don't drink today. Just order what you want. Armin heard this. Yu reading www.aconcha.com's eyes lit up and said, Anna, you are such a good person. We are not addicted to knowing that there are few dishes. This will allow us to order anything. Boss, help us serve all of your dishes here. The boss, who had been observing Anna's table from the corner of his eye, heard the words and immediately walked over. He asked, Are you sure? I think you can't finish it at all, and the cost is not normal. It's okay. Let's just order what Anna said. Don't worry, boss. We will definitely finish eating, Armin said. The boss looked at Anna. Anna smiled drunkenly. Go ahead. My old lady is about to get rich. These little money is nothing at all. At this time, she didn't know what was in her mind. Okay, this is what you said, the boss said blankly, and then left. The 3 people started to fight happily again, and it was already the second barrel. The dishes came up slowly, and the 2 dragons ate very quickly. The plates were stacked one by one. I don't know how long it took. At noon the next day, Anna woke up with a splitting headache. She glanced at the empty tavern, a little hooded, stood up swayingly, not knowing where to go, and knocked down a stool in the first step. Hey, where am I? Why does my head hurt? She didn't ask herself. Are you finally awake? A thick male voice came. It was the tavern owner. He walked out of the back kitchen. He was busy just now preparing the ingredients for the evening. Jamie, why am I here with you? Anna asked blankly. Part 1. Chapter 66. Why? I forgot everything about last night. Think about it, the boss said. Last night. Anna clutched her head and tried to remember. A dragonborn, an elf. The boss reminded him. Anna's eyes lit up. Yes. Those 2 big money. They are now. Wait. Things don't seem to be right. Anna's face suddenly changed, and she finally remembered. Yesterday, I wanted to get drunk with them, so that you can triple the amount of alcohol. In the end, I was poured. Those 2 kid ran away. Yeah, you missed it. Those 2 kids drank all the wine. Nothing happened at all. It's hard to believe that this amount of alcohol is just underage dragonborn and elves. The boss said helplessly. Damn it, my chance of getting rich is gone like this. Those 2 brats. As long as I dare to pack them up, I will get rich. Both of them have space rings, and their respective swords. The value of the saber alone is definitely more than 10 gold. And that elf, all his clothes are melted with silver coins. The price is definitely a few gold coins. In the space ring of this kind of guy, the value of the stuff is definitely more than hundreds of gold coins. Anna was furious. This kind of foreign rich child is really rare in a few years. Obviously, as long as you get this ticket, you can go directly out of the city and go to a city for a lifetime. Unfortunately, they have no chance with you. The boss said, Forget it. I'm leaving now. There are other things to do today. Anna shook her head, took a deep breath, and wanted to go outside after she got rid of her boredom. When the boss saw this, he rushed out of his counter and stood in front of Anna. He smiled and said, "Have you forgotten something important?" "What?" Anna frowned. "Money, bastard. You haven't paid yet. Just want to get out of my door like this. Do you think I'm a vegetarian?" The boss yelled. Anna was taken aback and smiled awkwardly. "Ha, sorry. How much is it?" "A total of 12 gold and 3 silver. For the sake of your old customers, count your 12 gold." The boss said. "What? 12 gold coins?" Anna exclaimed. The sound was extremely harsh, like dozens of ducks crowing together. The boss couldn't help but frown. "I only ordered 4 dishes and 2 barrels of wine, so you will charge me 12 gold? Old Jamie is not so bad, right?" Anna roared. "Asshole. Will my old Jamie cheat people? Think about how many dishes you ordered yesterday." The boss also ranted back. Anna looked at the opponent's tough look, frowned and thought, but after a while, her complexion changed again. "How is it? Do you remember it?" the boss said with a sneer. "Who bluntly told the 2 foreigners yesterday to order? You will not forget it. Anna, big brother Jamie, we have known each other for several years, and we have brought you a lot of guests. See if the money can be slowed down." Anna's mouth forced a smile. "No, my mercenary tavern doesn't have a credit statement." The boss was expressionless. "Then, big brother Jamie, give the younger sister a bit cheaper, okay?" Anna's voice was soft, and people couldn't help but want to get close. "Asshole, didn't I already give you 3 silver coins cheaper? Still want to be cheaper? I tell you, don't think about it." The boss clasped his arms, unmoved. Don't The boss, Jamie, just looked at him quietly, his expression unmoved. "You can cry. I frown, and count me as losing. When you finish crying, I will send you to the city's security management office. Go inside and continue to cry." Anna read bitterly. Kept crying for a long time, and Jamie did not back down. Anna finally stopped crying. She expected to take out a purse from her pocket, and then fell on the table next to her. Gold coins and silver coins were scattered. Anna struck out 12 gold coins with difficulty, and added up the remaining 2 or 3 gold coins. She clutched her chest and shouted, "It hurts! It hurts!" Boss Jamie took the gold coins on the table and immediately put on a smile. "Welcome to come again next time." "Anna, damn it, damn it. The old lady saved money for 2 years. It's all gone. Those 2 brats. I won't let them go." Anna ran out angrily. "Correct. The 2 brats said yesterday that they belong to the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce. That dressing, they're destined to be not ordinary, so I still go to their club. The old lady does not make back the lost money. I can't swallow this breath." Tom went back to last night. After Anna was drunk, Shillong and Armin ate all the dishes on the table. Lao Gao was stacked with plates, and a large group of mercenaries around looked at the 2 dragons in amazement. "This appetite is too good, right?" Replaced by them. It is estimated that it will take more than 20 people to get this table of dishes. And they? Only 2. Do Dragonborn and elves have such a big appetite? A group of people don't ask themselves Wuxiaworld.online if they're all this big. How did these 2 groups survive until now? "Hey, the food here is really good. Human food is well known." Armin patted his stomach and exclaimed, "You're full, let's go. Find a hotel to rest, and go to Andre tomorrow." Silem said, "Now I'm leaving? What about Anna?" Armin glanced at Anna, who was lying on the table and awake. "The owner of this tavern should know Anna, and he will be optimistic." Silem said, "Okay, let's go," Armin said, and stood up to leave. The counter owner who had been staring at them saw this, and immediately became a little anxious. He hurried to the 2 dragons and said, "2 guests, your money has not been given yet." "Money?" Armin was taken aback. Anna said, "She treats her." "This?" The boss gritted his teeth and said, "I don't know who you are going to treat, but this time the fee is not low. I'm afraid this drunk woman can't afford to pay when you leave. Moreover, leaving a drunk woman and asking the other party to pay is not a gentleman's behavior." Oh, Armin was a little entangled when he heard the words, but Mingming Anna said that she was a treat. "Why do you want us to pay?" "Okay, how much do you think this time?" The boss smiled and said, 2 gentlemen, 12 gold and 3 silver coins." "What? 12 gold coins?" Armin exclaimed. "Why is it so expensive? That's nothing more than Dragon Islands." "Sir, you ordered a total of 83 dishes and 2 barrels of wine. This price will naturally be a bit expensive." The boss was also a little embarrassed. Part 1. Chapter 67. All the dishes have been ordered by you. How can there be a reason why they are not expensive? Our shop has in-depth cooperation with mercenaries, and there are a lot of high-quality meat in it. The boss said again, 12 gold coins. 12 gold coins. Armin murmured. Although he is worth more than 100,000 gold coins now, there is still a lot of 12 gold coins. "I eat 10,000 times. Don't I have any money?" "No, I still can't give it to you. You heard it next to you last night, right?" Anna said she was a treat. I can't let her say nothing. Armin insisted. You can pay one for each, for gold coins are enough. The boss said, no, still no. Anna is my friend. I can't let her break her promise. You let me go. I'm going out to find my other friends. Armin's attitude was very firm, and he was about to go outside. Seeing that the persuasion was ineffective, the boss could only watch the two dragons leave. Then he glanced at Anna and said to himself, it's not that my brother won't help you. You will feel better tomorrow. Shillong and Armin left the tavern, walked away casually, and then walked into a hotel. The owner of this hotel is a beautiful woman in her 30s. She glanced at the two dragons who came in. Her eyes lit up. The two dragons are really dazzling, especially Armin, who looks like a nouveau riche. The lady boss smiled and said, the two guests are here for the house, right? Our room here has a senior suite specially for the nobles, and you are satisfied. Aristocratic superior room? That should be good. How many gold coins? Armin asked. 2 silver coins a night. How many nights do you want to stay? 2 silver coins? Isn't there a cheaper one? Alman asked. Damn, why is a place to sleep so expensive? I live hundreds of thousands of times. Then I don't have any money? Can't do it. It's even cheaper? The boss's face changed, and she looked at the two dragons carefully. These two guys, this costume can't be stolen, right? You elf, can you pay if you just buckle down a few silver scales on that outfit? Need to be so stingy? Why are you looking at me like this? Is there something cheaper? I can leave without us. Armin said. Yes. There are also 80 copper per night in the ordinary room and 10 copper per night in the lower room. The proprietress took a deep breath and said, suppressing doubt, 10 copper coins? This is okay. Boss, you take us over. Armin finally decided. Boss, okay. Come with me. After that, the proprietress took the two dragons to the back room. The room for 10 copper coins a night was at the back of the hotel, and there was a row of low wooden houses. Each room is only about 6 square meters. After the two dragons and one person arrived, the lady boss said, that's it. Numbers 5 and 6 are where you live. We're going to live for a few days, so pay the money first. Huh? Wait, why are rooms 5 and 6? We only need one, and only live for 1 day. Armin surprised. The lady boss was silent. She looked at the two alien races silently. Her eyes flickered, and she laughed after a long time. Okay, first pay the money, and then you can live in. Armin heard the words, turned his head, and silently looked to Shillong, who had been silent. Why are you looking at me? Shillong finally spoke. He felt embarrassed. As a wealthy man with a net worth of more than hundreds of thousands, he actually wanted to live in this kind of room. Generally speaking, it must be a noble suite for 2 silvers a night. But when he wanted to speak, his heart ached. Can't bear it. All this money is from Lao Tzu's hard work and wisdom and sweat. How could I be reluctant to bear 2 silver coins? I must have been infected by this stupid Armin. Also contracted the stingy disease. Took a few rough breaths in his heart, and Shillong was silent. When Alman stared at him silently for a long time, he finally spoke blankly. You pay, Armin said. I will pay. Shillong took a deep breath and said uncomfortably. Why should I pay? You kid, how many million gold coins I gave you before? Are you embarrassed to ask me to pay? When the lady boss heard this, her face remained silent, but she cursed in her heart. 2 poor guys. How dare you put in front of me? Tens of thousands of gold coins? Tens of thousands of gold coins? Would you give me a single room? Stay 10 copper a night of? These 2 guys definitely have a problem. What you gave me is mine. Besides, you have more money than me. Of course you paid, Armin confidently said. Don't forget what my mother said when we came out. She wants you to take good care of me. Shillong, it is good. I pay. Shillong gritted his teeth, put his hand in his pocket pretendingly, took out 10 copper coins from it, and handed it to the proprietress. Haha. The lady boss took the copper coin, smiled, opened the door to the 2 dragons, and then left. Shillong and Almena walked in. The smell inside was very heavy, there were several unpleasant smells, and it was very messy and no one cleaned it. Shillong waved his hand. It was a simple cleaning technique. The whole room was instantly refreshed, and the smell was gone. Armin looked at Shillong and nodded in relief. This guy really works. There is only a wooden board in the room. Nothing else. Armin and Shillong did not dislike them. They closed their eyes and started to rest while lying on it. The lady boss returned to the counter and called her husband to come to see the shop Wuxia World online. Then she hurriedly left the hotel and went straight to the nearest police station. Public Security Management Office. You can tell by its name. The sheriff is responsible for maintaining all the daily life and instability of the city. There are naturally people on duty day and night. The lady boss went straight to the place and told what she had seen. After hearing this, several sheriffs looked at each other, and one of them said, You said there is a dragonborn and an elf living in your hotel, wearing aristocratic costumes with a few gold coins, an aristocratic sword. The opening is tens of thousands of gold coins at home, but they only need to live in a room with 10 copper per night. So you suspect that they are thieves? Yes, they must be thieves. They stole the clothes of a certain nobleman by despicable means, pretending to be a nobleman. The lady boss looked very serious. Dada Sheriff was sitting on a wooden chair, his fingers tapping the tabletop rhythmically. Do you think it's possible that their money was stolen by a thief? Impossible. If their money is stolen, did they come to you today? They look like two paupers. Even if the real nobles have no money, they won't stay in a room with 10 copper per night. Then why not sell the clothes and saber? Come live in my noble suite. So they must be thieves. The lady boss put both hands on the table, and at the end of speaking, she leaned forward and looked at the sheriffs with her eyes. She was very firm. The sheriff looked at the eyes of the proprietress, and after thinking for a moment, he said, "What you said makes sense. Our aim is not to let any suspicious person do evil in Shillong City." At the end of the talk, the sheriff suddenly stood up. "Go. Get the two suspicious elements up. Ask them carefully." Part 1. Chapter 68. After that, several sheriffs quickly put on their equipment, all in bright silver armor, fully armed, wearing helmets and long swords, and a standard dwarf musket. The dwarf musket is a very popular strategic weapon. Their power is not a particularly powerful weapon in this world where magic, divine art, and battle spirit coexist, but they are particularly effective against the weak. The weak occupy more than 90% of the armies of the major kingdoms. Humans without any armor, as long as they are below level 7 or 8, are at a disadvantage when facing muskets. Even level 7, 8, or even level 10 fighters will be killed when facing a group of muskets. Only those powerful existences of more than 10 levels can ignore the threat of muskets, but such people are very rare. If the weapon of a level 1 ordinary person is a musket, he will have a great probability of defeating a level 4 warrior with a sword weapon head-on, provided that neither side has excellent full-body armor. The power of the musket can be seen from this. Several sheriffs sat on horses and drove the proprietress to the hotel quickly. There are a total of 8 sheriffs. They showed extremely high quality. Under the leadership of the boss's wife, they quickly came to the door of Shillong and Armin. "It's here. Think for yourself. The rich nobles will live here," the lady boss said softly, aiming at the door. The sheriff in the lead looked at the small wooden house in front of him. Perhaps it was a utility room before? The dilapidated exterior walls, discolored walls, and potholes all told the dilapidation of the house. Really rich people live here? Obviously not. Only slum people can live in this place. Several sheriffs looked at each other, signaled the proprietress to step back, and then drew the one-handed sword from her waist. The one-handed sword exudes cold light in the night. It seemed that the night might not be too peaceful. Pong! The leading sheriff kicked the wooden door, and several sheriffs walked into the wooden house, one-handed sword and musket pointed at the suspect inside, and shouted, "Don't move. You are already surrounded by us. All squatting. Raise your hands down." The sheriff finished speaking before he had time to look at their goals. Unlike what you imagined, a dragon wing and an elf did not sleep at this time, but stood up straight. The dragon descendant stood in front of the elf and protected the elf, while the gorgeously dressed the elves drew out his one-handed sword and looked at them angrily. "I only saw him airing. Who are you guys? Robbers? I have long heard that there are more robbers here, but I didn't expect to be met by us the first time I came to Shillong City. You guys, I tell you, I met Alman Soderberg today. It will be your misfortune. I want to punish you on behalf of justice." At the end, Armin's expression became upright. "You thieves! We are the sheriff in the city. We received a report from the masses. You two have stolen the noble finances. Hurry up and catch it. Otherwise, don't blame us for doing it on you." The sheriff looked on guard with one-handed sword on the chest. "You robbers, have you even thought of excuses? But justice will not succumb to evil. Come on," Armin said at the end, holding the sword and wanted to rush forward. On the side of, the wings behind Shillong spread out and hung in front of Armin. "Wait, Armin, there must be some misunderstanding here." Shillong was very calm. The group of guys in front of him looked like the city's security managers. They offended the trouble they might have in the city in the future. Besides, the two of them didn't do anything. They were naturally not afraid of shadows. Armin was stopped by Shillong and calmed down a bit and stopped the movement of his hands. "Can you tell me what happened?" Shillong said to the sheriff, "There is no intention to do anything. We received a report that you were stealing items from nobles." The sheriff also explained, "Theft? Whose did we steal? You guys don't lie there anymore. You are a despicable robber. You must have fallen in love with my treasure." Armin cried out behind Shillong. "Who reported us? I swear that we did not steal, nor did we need to steal." Shillong said, "It's the proprietress of the hotel," the sheriff said. "Boss?" Shillong frowned. "What does this boss lady mean? When did we offend her? Why do we need to rectify?" "That's right. It's me." The lady boss outside the house heard the voice inside the house and walked to the door and said, "You two paupers. Don't think that you are a nobleman if you stole the property of a nobleman and a wealthy businessman. The real nobleman and the rich merchant will live 10 copper one-night hotel. Actually only open one defense. Isn't it crowded? You two thieves. Don't hide from my old lady's eyes." At the end, the lady boss felt more proud. Turns out to be the problem. Shillong thought about the matter once, and it seemed to be exactly what the lady boss said. It made sense. But the dragon cannot be treated with common sense. So you are wrong. But unfortunately, I can't explain it clearly. But it's okay. I know people. We are not thieves, and we don't need to steal. Housing is just a night's thing. It doesn't matter whether it is good or bad. We are different from what you humans value. Shillong said, "That's right. We just arrived today. Lancheng is here to find Andre Claudius. He is the current president of the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce. Should you know each other?" "Andre? Claudius? You said you know Andre? Claudius?" The security captain could not see his face under the iron helmet Wuxia World that online, but the voice was a little surprised. "Yes, we are here to find him," Silem replied. "Huh? You said you two thieves know President Andre? Don't laugh at me. How can such a big man know you two thieves? The boss lady doesn't believe the two dragons." Silem frowned slightly, with a little unhappy in his heart. This lady boss is so good. How do you say that she is so annoying to do things? I live in your store for nothing? Still steal your stuff? Want to target me like this? In Shillong's vertical pupil, the stream of golden particles began to become more active, gathering and dispersing. The room that was lacking of lights turned on and off. In the entire room, an inexplicable pressure fell. The air seems to become sticky. The first lady boss just felt suffocated in her breath, as if she had a pair of big hands strangling her neck, and her chest was pressed by a boulder weighing tens of kilograms. The air can't be sucked up. Her complexion became a bit crimson. Her eyes gradually became bloodshot. Her body was inexplicably hot, and her chest was extremely bored. The body was filled with a sense of powerlessness. "Woo!" The lady boss made a whine in her mouth unconsciously, her eyes full of panic. "What are you doing?" Suddenly a loud shout came, sweeping away the unnatural atmosphere in the room. A sheriff outside the house discovered this abnormal phenomenon in time. The people in the whole house seemed to be abnormal, especially the lady boss who didn't wear armor. Everything that happened to her was seen by the sheriff. That's why there is this blast. Part 1. Chapter 69. After that, the sheriff instinctively took out the musket in his hand and pulled the trigger at Shillong. Pong! A gunshot sounded. The bright flame of the muzzle of the fire is particularly conspicuous in the room. Time seems to be frozen. Shillong's vertical pupil shrank slightly, and the stream of golden particles burrowed into the pupil instantly. He watched for a moment as black bullets appeared from the muzzle of the gun, slowly shooting at him. When the bullet was more than 10 centimeters away from Shillong's chest, a strong repulsion suddenly appeared. Boom! The repulsion hit the bullet, and the whole bullet was spinning, flying backwards. Shoot at the forehead of the sheriff, who shot. Oops! If shoots, the sheriff will undoubtedly die, and it will be really troublesome then. This is not what Shillong wants. At this moment, the repulsive force disappeared, and it was replaced by gravity. The local gravity was instantly applied to the bullet, and the bullet that had hit the forehead deflected downward, and Peng's shot hit the sheriff's armor. There is a small hole in the shiny silver armor. The whole bullet is embedded on it. The wisps of heat are going out along the bullet. Whirring, whirring. The violent panting sound is especially clear in the small room. The sheriff and the lady boss in the house were a little frightened, especially the lady boss. Her lower body was a little wet. There was horror in his eyes. Although she was frightened, she didn't know that the abnormal reaction just now came from two alien races whom she looked down upon. Now she is dazed and scared again. The sheriffs clenched their weapons firmly. The sheriff who fired the gun swallowed unconsciously and looked at the bullet shot on his chest armor with horror. What happened just now? Why did the bullet hit him? The leader of the team took a deep breath and shouted, "Don't be impulsive, everyone." This directly calmed down the other sheriffs who were ready to move. Then he said to Zero, "What did you do to us just now? Is it special magic?" The sheriff knows very well that the Dragonborn in front of him is not simple. That kind of momentum and the means of rebounding. This kind of powerful guy can definitely not be solved by only 8 sheriffs with armor and weapons. So the sheriff captain wants to change the subject and end the possible battle. "Sorry, I was in a bad mood just now. Are you all right now?" Shillong's face was slightly apologetic. The irritable mood just now drove the body's instincts, unnaturally exuding one's own long-way domain, although not completely exuding it. But it is enough for these people. And the instinctive counterattack. They almost killed them. The sheriff on the opposite side did nothing wrong. They were just performing their duties and were implicated by Long Way of Shillong, so Shillong would apologize. It's okay. We're okay. Hearing Shillong's apology, the sheriff was inexplicably relieved. You just said you know Andre Claudius. Is there any evidence? You only need to go to the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce to notify him and say that Shillong and Armin come to him, and that's all. He knows that we will come. He will definitely come. Shillong said. This. The sheriff hesitated. Don't worry. We are not thieves, nor are we villains. We will not run away, nor will we hurt you. Ciro said. His face looked very sincere. Okay. The sheriff agreed, then turned his head and said behind him, Jack, Tom, you two go to the Sodbury Chamber of Commerce and find Mr. Andre. Go and get back. When the two sheriffs heard the words, they immediately responded and left here as if they were fleeing. Two gentlemen, please wait a moment. Here is some distance from the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce. It will take an hourglass. The security captain said. An hourglass is 1 hour. Xylem and Armin are also meaningless. The two dragons stayed in the room and waited. An hour later, the two sheriffs who went out finally returned. They brought back a handsome man of about 30 years old with blonde hair. He was wearing a large robe studded with gold threads. Is exactly the human form of Andre. Of course, this is not his real human form. However, he has developed business in the human world for 20 years, and many people know him. He must age at a speed acceptable to others. After more than 20 years of business career and the extravagant temperament of a rich man, Andre is now full of charm in the eyes of women. I looked down on Shillong and Armin's proprietress very much before. At this time, she was leaning on the door, her long legs twisted together, her hands wrapped around her chest, and she looked at Andre next to her with a pink complexion. Mr. Andre, you can come here. You must be the god of love and beauty to me. I'm really so lucky, the lady boss said with a happy face. Hello, madam. I'm here to meet my friend. Andre said, stepping into the door, glanced at Soren and Armin, walked closer, twitched his nose slightly. Ciro changed from a human to a dragonborn. Alman has always maintained a dragon shape in front of him. Now he can only see it with his eyes, and he can't see it naturally, but the real dragon has a sensitive nose. After a light sniff, Andre's eyes lit up. He smiled and hugged Shillong and Armin and said, You two are here. I've been waiting for you for so many years. Starting tomorrow, let the three of us create a new movie era together. You just have to watch from one side. As long as I and Shillong are there, you can create a new movie era, Armin said with a curled mouth. Silo just smiled. The development of the Starland Kingdom in the past 20 years cannot be separated from Andre. He has already recognized the other party in his heart, so he didn't say anything. These two guys really knew Andre, but fortunately they didn't do it, or they were beaten when they did it. And there is no place to reason. The sheriffs glanced at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. The boss's eyebrows jumped while watching. These two poor ghosts actually really knew Andre. How can that be? Two poor ghosts can actually know a rich man like Andre. That shows that they are really rich, not a self-righteous thief. Damn, you said that your outfit is so valuable. Why do you want to stay in a room of 10 copper a night? Is sick? I've been in a hotel for 10 years, and this is the first time I've seen this kind of neurosis. The lady boss was annoyed, but her face was full of smiles, and she smiled and said, Two little brothers, misunderstanding. It turns out that the two really know Mr. Andre. Honestly, I'm Andre, admirer of Mr. Lai. We are all our own. All of them. Hey, who is your little brother? I am 40 years old this year. I should be older than you, Armin said unwillingly. He felt that this woman was taking advantage of him. The lady boss gave her face and smiled awkwardly. Little brother, it's all a misunderstanding. I will arrange a noble suite for you right now. You reading www.uk.com will take it as it is. Apologies, what do you think? That's good. In that case, I will forgive you, Armin said with a smile. Forget it, Andre said. Today you just follow me back. You don't need to live here anymore. I have a house here, and it is absolutely comfortable to live in. Okay, then go, Armin said. Andre nodded, turned around, and walked outside the door. He glanced at the lady boss who was a little in the way and said, Madam, can you give me a favor? Oh, okay. The lady boss quickly stepped aside. Seeing Shillong and Armin leaving with each other, she suddenly said, Mr. Andre, there are two little brothers. You can come and play when you have time. In response, Samlong just nodded and left here soon. The sheriff saw that the matter was finally resolved, and they went back. The hotel finally recovered its tranquility. Shillong and Armin got into Andre's carriage and drove quickly to the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce under the driver of the coachman. Sat on the carriage, although the speed is not slow, but there is no sense of bumps inside. Inside the carriage, the space is not small. It accommodates 3 humanoid dragons. They are not crowded at all. They're sitting on the side each other. Shillong said to Andrea, Where's Sister Neferu? Why didn't you come together to pick us up? That's right. Where's Sister Neferu? Didn't you take her away, and no one watched you embezzle our gold coins? Armin looked at each other suspiciously. Am I that kind of person? Part 2. Andre opened his eyes and looked at Armin quietly. You are not that kind of person, but you are that kind of dragon. I don't know you yet. Armin looked at each other disdainfully. Part 1. Chapter 70. Prejudice is a mountain. I can't breathe under pressure. Unplasite. Stop talking about these useless things. Where is Sister Neferu? She should be in the slum at this time. What is the slum area? It's the place where the poor stay. Don't look at it. It's very prosperous, but no matter how prosperous the city is, there are always some particularly backward and poor places. The slums are such places. Most of the people inside are chaotic, hiding the city the sin side. The sin side? Armin heard his eyes lit up at the end. That's great. This is suitable for us to fight crime. Where are the slums? Take me there. Andre looked at Shillong. He knew the two brothers Shillong had the idea. Ciro nodded. He also wanted to see the big Sister Neferu. Seeing this, Andre immediately ordered the coachman to go to the slum. When the coachman received the order, he immediately turned around at a nearby turning point. It was about midnight. Only a few street lights were still on the street, and there were basically no pedestrians. The carriage goes very fast. Soon came to the boundary close to the slum. The three people wearing cloaks completely covered their bodies. After the carriage passed by, the people walking on the road suddenly stiffened, and they felt the extremely strong breath of beasts. Do not. In other words, it is not the breath of beasts, but the breath of dragons. To the point of heinous intensity. This is definitely the aura, only when 3 or more dragons gather together. The 3 cloaked men turned around. On the dark road with no street lights, the 3 pairs of black eyes radiated a different kind of light, and they stared at the carriage that was getting farther and farther. There are more than 3 dragons in the carriage. A man in a cloak said. His voice was very rough and full of breath. This is the best gift for my lord, another person said. I really want to drink their blood, eat their meat, another man in the cloak swallowed. How about, do you want to go directly? I can't wait anymore, said the second man. Idiot, do you want to die? The rough man who spoke first cursed. That's a dragon. It's not an ordinary beast. Only the 3 of us can beat 3 dragons? Have you eaten more pig brains recently? Got it? My mind is not working. What should I do? Dragons are rare. Let them go like this. My lord knows that we will be blamed. Contact the people of the Dragon Lich Church. I think they will be interested in transforming the 3-headed Dragon Lich, said the rough man. Although his voice was rough, his brain was very flexible. Of course, first of all, we must confirm what age the 3 dragons are. If they are the legendary dragons older than the age, then we can only give up. After finishing speaking, a night wind blew through, blowing up the cloak of the rough man, revealing the strong body inside. This is an extremely strong man. He doesn't wear any clothes on his upper body. There is a necklace of animal teeth hanging around his neck, and he has a very conspicuous tattoo on his chest. A bloodstained claw of a beast. There is a strange light in the night. Slum area. The carriage stopped. Although it is 0 hour, there are still some figures walking around here. Seeing a gorgeous carriage stopped, these people who were still moving stopped one by one to watch. The coachman is a middle-aged man in his 40s, with a little mustache, and his clothes are meticulously arranged. He has worked for Andre for many years and has seen many big scenes. Therefore, he is instinctive when he sees the slums. He looked at the black shadows who were still walking in disgust, and then said to the 3 dragons inside, Mr. Andre, the slum is here. Thank you, Tony. Andre pulled the curtain of the carriage and got off the carriage. His every move is like a human nobleman. This may be because he has dealt with humans too many times in recent years. Armin jumped out of the carriage and then Shillong. After Sanlong got out of the car, Silem glanced at the slum area, where the houses were very low and dilapidated. The walls are full of graffiti. There is also a puddle of foul liquid on the ground, and garbage is everywhere. Several young men in tattered clothes were looking at them with greedy eyes. Of course, the main focus is on Armin. His silver scale clothes are so dazzling. Even in the night at 0 o'clock, with the faint moonlight and the shiny silver clothes, you can see that it is very valuable at a glance. What are these guys looking at me like that? They are really bad guys. It seems necessary to punish them. Armin frowned. I wanted to step forward, as I said. Andre hurriedly stopped and said, Don't be impulsive. They just looked at you like this and didn't do anything. If we do it first, it means that we have the fault first. These people are just getting used to it. Suddenly seeing your clothes, it will inevitably show that look. Cut. Forget it. Take us to Sister Neferu. Let's go. After Andre finished speaking, after walking a few steps forward, he turned to the coachman and said, Tony, you go back first. Okay, sir, Tony replied. Sir, You must be careful here. Go back, Tony Wuxia World. Online, I am not a weak businessman. Andre said with a smile. Tony turned his horse and walked away. Andre led the two dragons into the slum, walking calmly with the eyes of evil spirits around him. He twitched his nose as he walked. Soon, Shillong came to a small alley full of sewage. This is it, Andre said. Just after Andre finished speaking, there was a popping sound from the alley, and then several men crying. This woman, please stop beating. We really have nothing to do with you. Any ideas? I dare not have any ideas for you. Huh? Want to lie to me? I felt it clearly when I walked here, just now. You obviously coveted my beauty. You want to be strong against me. I tell you, I met Neferu today. Count you guys. Unfortunately, evil will be punished by justice. Justice will prevail. This is a crisp female voice. I really don't have any ideas. Woman, now people in our slums. How dare you be the same as before? Your name is so thunderous. This does not give the sheriff face. Who would dare not give you face? The man's voice was full of pleading. Huh? It turns out that my reputation is already so loud. Justice will prevail. The female voice was full of pride. Then can I go? Beautiful Miss Neferu. The male voice was cautious. No, you guys haven't slept so late. You must be thinking about doing bad things. If I met today, you must be punished. Drink. Watch. The female voice was beaten and kicked again, accompanied by the screams of the male voice echoed in the alley. Shillong and Armin at the entrance of the alley looked at each other. What is going on here? Do you like this site? Donate here. Part 1, Chapter 71 Go. Go in. After Andre said, he walked into the alley. Shillong and Armin followed closely behind. When he came to the alley, Shillong finally saw the situation clearly. Several men were lying on the ground at this time. Their faces were crying, and there were several purple spots on their bodies, covering their heads. And a young girl punched and kicked these men. Sister Neferu, Armin couldn't help but exclaimed. Okay. The vigorous girl had a pause, looked towards the entrance of the alley, and then brightened her eyes, laughed and gave up the beating, and walked towards Asylum and waiting for the dragon. You two are willing to come out of the island. Here I'll follow my sister from now on. You know it's not safe here, but my sister will protect you. After she finished speaking, she patted the two dragons on the shoulders. Armin was shocked and then said, Sister, don't worry. It's safe for me to have this Shillong. Hey, don't ignore me. I am here. You just have to rely on me here. Andre said he felt that he was ignored. Speaking of strength, who can have me here as an adult golden dragon? Protect everyone's safety. It is my duty, Andre. Just don't lose our face. Neferu said. A group of dragons chatted at the entrance of the alley. The beaten men glanced at each other and quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Everyone kept their breathing to the lowest level, for fear that the loud breathing would attract the attention of the female devil. Sister Neferu, what's the matter with you here so late? Armin asked. Yes, to maintain peace. The slums here, I tell you, it's messy, so I will come every few days. Neferu said, You still don't want to come here. This is no longer the slums of 10 years ago, and now the people here only dare to see. They dare not do it at all. The name of your Neferu woman is also considered here. No one knows. No one knows. Antlasite. This doesn't mean that my efforts have been rewarded. This is my path to justice. Neferu was extremely proud. I think that 10 years ago, when I first came to Shillong City, Neferu, the female dragon, first heard of the chaos in the slums, and that he immediately came to punish evil every day. Always pretends to be weak, or a pitiful little girl, to arouse the wicked animal desires. Or a lonely rich lady, arouses the greed of the wicked. Every time this kind of person shoots Neferu, the result can be imagined. The people in the slums are ordinary people with little combat effectiveness. How can the dragon of Neferu become human? Even if the strength is greatly reduced, these ordinary people who have not received much training can deal with it. Because of this, all the villains here have basically been educated several times by Neferu in a variety of ways, including lying on the bed for a week or two. The fifth limb was directly charged, or can't get out of bed. The name Neferu is really famous in the slums, and the wicked are frightened to hear it. The whole slum area is now full of turtle goods. The law and order is better than the ordinary people's area. Don't look at Shillong before they came, and many people stared at Armin, but really told them to do it. I dare not let them dare. They have had an eye addiction. Let's go. Let's go back. Tomorrow we will take Shillong and Armin around the city and get familiar with Xiaxingwen City. Seeing that the conversation was almost the same, Andre proposed to go back. Okay, Neferu agreed. The few in the alley who were still pretending to be dead were happy in their hearts. But before they could continue to be happy, Neferu's next sentence sent them to prison. But wait a minute, I will continue to teach those guys. After Neferu finished speaking, he turned his head and went back. There was another cry of ghosts and wolves in the alley. Almost. Looking at the tears in the corners of his eyes, Neferu finally clapped his hands and left with Shillong and other dragons refreshed. The whimpers of the punks were left in the alley. They wanted to go to the police to sue Neferu, but it didn't work. Someone had told her before, but Neferu had Andre behind, and she was widely known because of her heroism and righteousness. This matter was also spread to the inner city palace and was known to the 7 princesses. Her Royal Highness was very fond of this heroine, and for this reason, she also summoned Neferu. After that, it was reported that the two met at first sight. Her Royal Highness called Neferu in front of other people as a model of justice in Shillong City. With such a background, the gangsters will give up, and they will be beaten if they are beaten, as long as they are not beaten to death. It took a lot of time for the 4 dragons to return to Andre's house here. House in the inner city. Shillong City is the royal city where the king is located. Whether it is military or commercial strength, it is the strongest in the kingdom. The whole city has 3 circles of walls, divided into outer city, inner city, and palace. The outer city is mostly ordinary people, while the inner city is rich businessmen, nobles, and powerful professionals. Needless to say, the palace belongs to the gathering place of the royal family. The entire Shillong City has more than 7 million residents, and it is an out-and-out big city. Andre's house is a single-family villa. It covers an area of more than 400 square meters and has 3 floors. The outside is painted with marble and looks very good. There are high walls around the house, and the gate is guarded by 2 guards in armor. Wuxia World. Online after seeing Andre, the 2 guards immediately open the gate and put their right arm on their chest to show respect to Andre. Let's go. You all live in my house for the time being, and you can move out when you want to buy a house yourself. Andre looked at the house in front of him and said to Shillong, "This house should be good among humans, right? It's much pleasing to the eye than the outside look." Armin praised after looking at it. That's natural. For this house, I spent a lot of gold coins. Andre said complacently. How many gold coins did you spend? Armin was curious. Andre was silent slightly. Hey, I guess there are 3,000 gold coins. Neferu said aside. The look in Andre's eyes is the same as the mentally retarded look. It's hard to believe that Andre, as a giant dragon, would actually spend so many gold coins to buy a house that only humans can live in. It's incredible. My old lady can only buy one in 5 years. 3,000 gold coins to buy this kind of house? Andre, are you an idiot? Armin also contemptuously said. Andre's eyes jumped when he listened. Bastard. It hurt enough when I bought it. It's hard to treat it as it has passed. Why do you still mention this in front of me? Damn it. These 2 idiot dragons. Low EQ. This is the human world. How many people dream of having such a house? You 2 idiots don't understand at all. Did you see the 2 guards next to you? Did you see them looking at you with nerves? 2 idiots. I can't communicate with you. Andre roared inwardly. Part 1. Chapter 72. Take a deep breath. Hold back. There is nothing to say about these bunsy dragons. Andre tried to control his emotions, squeezing out a smile, and said, Okay, let's go in. It's not too early. Go in early to rest. After speaking, Andre walked in first, and Shillong followed behind him. A group of humanoid dragons walked into the house. In the house at this time, the lights are still on, perhaps because Andre, who is the host, has not rested yet. After the door opened, Shillong saw a beautiful maid and a young maid waiting in the lobby. After seeing Zero and waiting for the dragon, the maid hurried up and took off her coat for Andre. The servant moved a stool to let Andre sit down and change his shoes. A strong smell of corruption spreads out. At this moment, Shillong didn't know what Armin and Neferu were feeling, but his heart was full of jealousy. This may be the human soul before Shillong's crossing. Andre, this bastard's life is too comfortable. This is the life Shillong dreamed of before crossing. You come to reach out. Let's open your mouth. Nima, someone will help you change your shoes. Then go to the toilet and let the maid come. Damn it, I really want this too. But it costs money to hire these people. It should be expensive, right? What is the annual salary of these guys? Is it 10 gold coins or 20 gold coins? Still say these people are slaves in the legend? You can buy one by paying dozens or hundreds of gold coins at once. It's a bargain to buy, but they have to cover food and accommodation. This is another expense. Damn it, I really want a servant, but so expensive. All kinds of thoughts flashed through Zero's heart. Waiting until Andre changed his clothes with the help of his servant, he said to the male servant, Rose, take my dragonborn and elf friends to arrange the room. The specifications are special. Yes, sir, the servant Rose answered. Immediately made a please gesture to Shillong and Armin, and said, You two, please follow me to the 3rd floor. Shillong and Armin nodded and followed the footman, and the group quickly came to the 3rd floor. There are quite a few rooms on the 3rd floor. The valet opened one of them and let Shillong and Armin in. The two dragons walked in. The decoration inside was really good, with animal skins and some furniture made of wood that looked good, and there were paintings hanging on the walls. The whole room was 40 to 50 square meters. The bed in the middle of the house is very big. 2 people, whoever wants to live in this room, the other will live in the next room. The male servant waited for the 2 dragons to look at the room and said, "Split rooms? No need. I live with Shillong." Armin replied, "Living together?" The male servant was a little surprised, looked at the 2 with a surprised look. Although these 2 guys seemed to be only teenagers, they belonged to the longevity elves and dragon descendants. My age must be older than me. They're all so big. Why do they still sleep together? Is not a kid anymore? These 2 guys, isn't that kind of relationship? The male servant looked at the 2 carefully. One was a slender and handsome elves, and the other was a strong dragonborn. It was really possible. These strangers really know how to play. The valet secretly said in his heart, but his face was calm. He still kept a smile and said, "That's okay. The 2 will live together. If there is something urgent, the 2 can shake off the little copper bell next to the bed. Someone of us will come and serve both of you." Shillong heard this and looked to the side of the bed. There really was a copper bell. "Damn, it's corrupt," promised the valet again, and after the other party left, Zero closed the door. Armin jumped directly onto the big bed, which was extremely flexible, and Armin, who jumped up, was bounced several times. Immediately, Armin lay down and felt the soft bed carefully, and said, "This human bed is quite comfortable to lie down. It's not worse than lying in a pile of gold coins," he commented. "That's it, let's rest." Shillong didn't want to talk nonsense. The 2 dragons went to sleep directly. The 2 dragons sleep on 2 ends when the sun rises the next morning. Shillong opened his eyes and looked at Armin on the opposite side. This kid really fell asleep last night, and at this time his hands were tightly hugging his thighs. Head towards his feet, mouth towards his toes, nibbling unconsciously, wisps of saliva falling on the bed. Shillong was expressionless, and with a force on his feet, he directly kicked the guy Armin into the air, hitting his head on the head of the bed behind him, making a bang. Sizzle. Armin finally woke up. He jumped up quickly. The whole body began to twist, and he wanted to change back into a dragon shape. "What's the matter? Someone attacked us?" "Stop the deformation. If you don't want to lose thousands of gold coins," Shillong shouted. Armin paused in his distorted figure. He looked around carefully, and after confirming that there was nothing wrong, he asked, "What is going on with Shillong? I seem to be attacked by someone." "I did it," Shillong said with a blank expression. "Okay, you have got up now too. Go down with me." "Why are you hitting me?" Armin was puzzled, and then a little angry said, "You bastard! How dare you bully me if your mother is not here? It's you that is so disgusting." He actually hugged my feet and chewed. Shillong replied, "What's so disgusting? We are brothers. It's normal to lick each other's scales. By the way, Wuxieworld.online, you guys were abnormal when they were young. It's strange that you never lick each other's scales since you were young." Manchi rode. Silo ignored this kid, and the 2 dragons came downstairs. Andre is already sitting at the table in the hall. After he saw Shillong and Armin, he immediately said, "Hello. You 2 got up really early. I think I will have the servant call you later." "It was the Shillong who woke me up," Armin said. The 2 dragons also sat down on the dining table, and after waiting a while, Neferu also came down. Then the servants started having breakfast. 1 dragon. Each person has a cup of milk from an unknown animal, a well-made bread, a roasted meat, and an egg. After the 4 dragons finished eating, sitting at the dining table, Andre couldn't help but ask, "Shillong, you have finally come to Shillong King City now. What are your plans for the future?" "Make a movie." Shillong replied, "Do you want to make a movie? Our Chamber of Commerce has now trained many directors and crews, and the works we have produced are no worse than what you did before." Andre said politely, "The shooting technology has improved, but the content of the shots is not very good. Haven't you told me before? The number of people watching the movie has grown too slowly. This is because the story itself is not attractive enough. The mainland itself still respects the strong. Money, power, status, war, and adventure are the main themes. There are too few people who write stories, the entertainment industry is underdeveloped, and the result of slow progress is that the story is still the same as it was a decade ago. The audience is a little tired of new ideas and highlights. And what I want to shoot this time will be a brand new story edited by me. Soren believes in it." Part 1. Chapter 73. "Well then, it feels very good." After Neferu listened, his eyes were glowing. "It feels like it's back to 20 years ago, when the dragons were making a movie together. No one thought it would be popular in the human kingdom. Let's go. Let's find all the actors first. Our Chamber of Commerce should have a special recruitment location, right? The film I made this time is very important for fighting, and the requirements for actors are very high." A group of dragons made up their minds and prepared to go to the recruitment site. But before going, Andre stopped Shillong and Armin. He said, "You two will live here in the future. It is inevitable that sometimes you can't be with me. At this time, someone needs to protect you." At this point, he shouted, "Beverly, Harmon." "Yes, sir." Two strong male voices immediately responded. Two little giants, wearing armor and taller than 2.1 meters, walked towards Andre. Their skin is gray-brown, and the two are warriors with the blood of rock giants. After they arrived, they glanced at Shillong and Armin, and then said to Andre, "Sir." Andre nodded and pointed to Shillong and Armin. "You two, from today onwards, you will protect my two friends every step of the way. Understand?" "Yes," the two replied, then walked silently behind Armin and Shillong. Seeing this, Andre nodded and said, "Both of them are warriors with the pedigree of the rock giants. They are level 8 warriors certified by the Warriors Association. They will be responsible for protecting you two in the future." "Huh? We need 2 humans to protect? Andre, what are you kidding?" Alman was surprised. Zero secretly said in his heart, "Are 2 bodyguards again? How much did these 2 bodyguards cost? Is the annual salary 10 gold, or 20 gold, or 30 gold? Andre, this must be a bodyguard recruited with public funds. I have to beat and beat back." "Mr. Elf," a bodyguard said, with a little uncomfortable emotion in the words. He looked at Armin and said, "You may not understand. We are professional bodyguard fighters. We are level 8 professionals. You know what does this mean? It means that we can defeat hundreds of ordinary people alone. 20 or 30 soldiers. Can you fight 20 or 30 soldiers? That's too weak," Armin said. The bodyguard stared at Armin silently for a while, then suddenly squatted down, stretched his face in front of Armin, pointed his face and said, "Come on, hit here, hit hard. I want to tell you, what is a level 8 fighter?" "What? Want me to hit you?" Armin was surprised. "That's right. I want you to know what a level 8 fighter is. I don't allow you to underestimate us," the bodyguard resolutely said. "This?" Armin hesitated a bit. "If I hit him with this punch, I won't kill him, right?" He looked left, looked right, and finally looked at Andre. Motioned to stop this guy with a brain problem. Andre just smiled. Armin, this little dragon, has just entered his teenage years, and his strength is only 8 to 9. Although it is a real dragon, it is enough to defeat a human at level 11. But Armin's human form strength has been greatly weakened, and it is not bad to compare with human level 6 fighters. Compared with the 8th level Haman, who has the blood of the rock giant, that's a lot worse. The warrior with the blood of the rock giant is definitely the top level in the 8th level, and his own defensive ability is extremely good, comparable to the 9th level fighter. The face is definitely thick enough, so Andre didn't worry about the other party. "Hit Armin, you can't hurt him. He's the bodyguard I found for you. If it's not as good as you two are now, then what kind of bodyguard?" Andre smiled. "Huh? Look down on me?" Armin raised his eyebrows, immediately turned his gaze to Harmon. "You asked for this." He gritted his teeth, then punched the opponent in the cheek. Slap the fist hits the face, but it looks like a ball of old bark. Very tough. Alman looked at each other blankly. "You can push harder," Haman said with a smile on the corner of his mouth. "The attack just now has only a little feeling. This feeling is like an ordinary person being punched by a 3 or 4-year-old child. Superficial. You fellow. What a cheeky." Armin was a little depressed. "Do you recognize my strength now? You should not object to me being your bodyguard." Haman stood up straight and believed. "The strength is good, but I have my brother Zero. I don't need it at all." Armin glanced at Zero. "Huh?" Haman smiled helplessly. "It seems that you still don't understand our strength. It doesn't matter." At the end, he squatted down again, facing Shillong. "Come on, hit me." "Are you sure? You want me to fight? I think I should forget it." Silum reminded me kindly. "Hit me. Don't think that you have the Dragonborn bloodline to be very powerful. There are many Dragonborn in the entire Starlane City, and not many of them are stronger than me. Come on, fight." "You okay?" Shillong looked at the other person's confident look and finally agreed. The right hand waved like lightning. Slap what? Boom. Everyone only heard a scream, and with a loud noise, Haman's figure disappeared in place. After everyone has a closer look, Yu reading www.yuukansha.com. Haman has been inlaid on the wooden wall. The whole head pierced through the wooden wall. The body stayed outside. The sawdust in the sky was flying everywhere. The maid and the servant who were working looked at Harmon with his head stuck in the wooden wall in surprise. Even Andre, Neferu, and Beverly were a little dazed. It wasn't until a faint cry came that everyone's silence was broken. "Help! Help!" Harmon, with his head stuck in the wooden wall, made a difficult voice. "Harmon!" Beverly came back to his senses and ran to help, trying to dig out Haman. But as soon as he grabbed Haman's body, this guy screamed again, "Light! Be light! Broken! It's broken! Break the wall! Break!" Beverly did not dare to neglect. He quickly drew out his big sword and chiseled it against the wooden wall. Shillong waited for the dragon to surround him. Andre looked at the chipped wooden wall with extreme distress. and his heart was bleeding. He stared tremblingly at the sword that was piercing the wall, and as long as he pierced it, he screamed, until Haman was dug out. Andre choked and said, "My Agarwood, repair it as a hardware coin again. The hardware coin is gone. Send me to the temple. I need treatment." Haman's neck was trembling and trembling at 70 or 80 degrees. Every time he pulls his neck, he is afraid that his neck suddenly breaks. "Okay, Haman, you have to hold on." Beverly lifted Haman lightly and wanted to run out. "Wait, no need to go to the temple. Let me treat him." Shillong stopped him. Although he didn't learn much healing spells, he learned it from Jones and Karma anyway. He was still proficient in general low-level healing spells. Part 1, Chapter 74. Do you still heal? Shillong asked in surprise. Harmon heard that. Although his neck could not move, he still cast a glance at Shillong from the corner of his eye, with a trace of horror in his eyes. "Can you do it? Don't make any accidents." He is scared. "You thought I was not good just now, so you became what you are now." Harmon. Okay, come on." Shillong nodded, and then he treated Harmon. A soft white light emerged from Ciro's hand and fell on the opponent. Harmon's whole body was wrapped in a shining white light, which lasted for 20 to 30 minutes, and Shillong needed to slowly correct his neck in the middle. In the end, he fully recovered. "Okay, really good," he exclaimed. Then he bowed to the dragons to express his gratitude, and then said, "I really underestimated everyone before. Since you were so strong and don't need bodyguards, then I will leave Beverly." After said, he was about to turn around and leave, but Shillong stopped him. "Wait, although your strength is a lot worse than mine, you are still good. I happen to be making a movie. You can join my crew." "Make a movie?" Harmon and Beverly glanced at each other and finally nodded. The group began to head to the recruitment site. The recruitment location was in the outer city, mainly because there were more people in the outer city. After all, there are more ordinary people in a city than wealthy businessmen, nobles, and powerful professionals. Take Shillong City as an example. The residents of the outer city absolutely occupy 90% of the number. The inner city is only about 8%, not to mention the palace. A large number of people have gathered at the recruitment location. It's noisy, like a vegetable market. There are many tents here, and there are signs of XX movies outside. Is obviously recruiting actors. After more than 10 years of development, film is already a mature industry. This directly gave birth to a large number of people who want to be actors. Although the actor's welfare is incomparable with the stars of the Blue Star, as long as it is mixed with a role that has many roles, it is still much better than ordinary professions. Especially the leading role, those little famous ones, which monthly salary is not more than 10 gold coins. That's $100 a year, is 10 or 20 times that of ordinary people. This is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that as long as you are famous in Shillong City, as long as you are a handsome man or a beautiful woman, you may enter the inner city, become a guest of some noble and wealthy businessmen. I heard that a handsome man named Hans some time ago, relying on his appearance and the popularity of the protagonist at the time, was directly taken by an inner city countess. The countess was only 32 years old. Her husband died early. She had no sons and no daughters, and had a wealth of wealth. After seeing Hans's protagonist, he was lost and couldn't find his way. Asked someone to call Hans home for a night, and then the two married directly. This is envious of a group of people. Step into the pinnacle of life. There are people, right? I have money too. Now living in the inner city, and occasionally visiting the outer city, who sees the untitled Mr. Hans. The scenery is infinite. This is a role model. Okay. Of course, there is also a slight flaw. That is, before Hans compares, he has lost a lot of weight. But this is nothing at all. A group of young, ordinary people just rushed on this road. Andre waited for the arrival of the dragon, which naturally attracted the attention of most people, and they walked to Andre enthusiastically one by one to greet him. Andre nodded and smiled. Under the eyes of a group of people, the dragons came to the house of the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce. That's right, it's a house. Others use tents. Naturally, large chambers of commerce like Soderbergh built houses here. Many dragons enter. The interior of the house is actually very simple, a wooden table, a few stools, and a coffee table next to it. There are already a few people in it, including the hottest crew of the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce, and some auditioning. As soon as these people saw Andre, the current president of the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce, they immediately dropped their work and hurried over to say hello. The few auditioning members heard it was President Andre, and their eyes were hot. It's almost the same as a man who has taken an aphrodisiac sees a girl. Andre just nodded, then pointed to Shillong and said, "I came here today to inform everyone about one thing. It was temporarily requisitioned by Mr. Shillong by my side. It will be his recruitment location from now on." Everyone looked at Ciro. All frowned slightly. A dragon descendant? All the people present are humans, so the eyes looking at the Dragonborn are naturally abnormal. Although there are many foreign races in Shillong City, as a city dominated by humans, some people in it looked down on other races. But these people didn't dare to say anything more. They left a little thought and left, leaving a few daily staff members here. Shillong arranged for these people to start recruiting actors. This time Shillong's requirements are really high for all the actors here. The main requirement is to have enough professional levels. Professional level less than 7 or higher basically can't even enter supporting roles. This level of recruitment requirements can make people outside look dumbfounded. Are you looking for actors or mercenaries to fight? What else says that the higher the level, the better? There are extra rewards for level 15 and above. I can go to you. Waited for 2 or 3 hours before Shillong recruited the first person. Actually, he doesn't have high requirements for the acting skills of these guys. This stuff can be used a few times. The audiovisual stone is really more convenient than the previous life in terms of deletion and deletion. After it lasted for 2 or 3 days. Shillong stayed here for 12 hours every day to recruit people wuxiaworld.online, and 11 people were recruited. Just when Shillong thought it would be a few more days, the arrival of a team made Shillong quickly accomplish his goal. When Silem and the others sitting in the room were bored, suddenly there was a burst of exclamation outside. The voice was very loud, and the people inside heard clearly. Shillong stood up and walked out. It was just boring at this time. Let's see what's going on. When he came outside, Shillong looked up. 100 meters above, a group of knights riding griffins was landing. These griffins looked very majestic, with a body length of 3 meters, a wingspan of 6 meters, and a name wearing silver. The knight in white armor sat on it. Headed by is a female knight. Although he wears a closed helmet with a pointed top that only exposes the eyes, the 2 bulges on the armor make a good surface of the knight's identity. Strong, the female knight pulled the reins. The griffin flapped its wings and neighed and slowly landed. The people around had all stepped back hundreds of meters to make room for this team of griffin riders. The team of female knights landed very neatly, and at first glance they knew they were elite troops. Stepping on the griffin's stirrups, the female knight turned over and lowered the eagle, and then took off the pointed helmet on her head, revealing a handsome face with sharp edges and corners. That's right, he was wearing a female armor, but his exposed face looked like a man. Moreover, the knight was not short in height, a full 1.8 meters. After he landed, he went straight to Neferu, came to the front, hugged Neferu and said, "Nefer, several no see. Did you miss me?" The voice was out, although it was a bit rough. It was still a female voice. Many people around also recognized the identity of this woman, and they knelt on one knee and whispered, "Princess 7. Part 1. Chapter 75. Hey, I really miss you a bit." Neferu replied with a smile. The laws of the kingdom clearly stipulate that the kingdom is divided into 4 classes. Inferior slaves must bow down when they meet the royal family. Medium common people, when encountering the royal family, they need to kneel on one knee. The first-class wealthy merchants and nobles only need to salute. The best royal family just meet each other and say hello. All the people present, except for Andre, who is a well-known wealthy businessman in the kingdom, and Neferu, who is an outstanding talent in the kingdom, has the status of a superior person. The rest are just middle-class people. So when you encounter a princess, you will naturally kneel on one knee. As the first person to kneel down appeared, a group of people bowed down and bowed. But there are 2 exceptions in the crowd. That is Shillong and Armin. They just watched all this calmly. Of course, Andre and Neferu did not actually salute, but the 2 of them have at least some identities, so the knight behind the princess has no objection. But Silent and Armin, 2 foreigners, can't even salute. Is 2 defiant? Has been following behind the princess. The captain of the young knight, who is about 30 years old, looked at them very unhappy. Including other knights, they were all a little unhappy. But they all restrained themselves, knowing that there is no place for them to speak. But Armin would not restrain himself. He felt that the eyes of these guys made him very uncomfortable, so he frowned and said uncomfortably, "Hey, what are you doing looking at me like this? Bastards, I don't know you gold coins." Huh. Hearing this to the princess who was whispering to Neferu, she turned her head and looked at Armin in surprise, and then asked her knight, "What's wrong with you?" "Your Royal Highness, this elf and the dragonborn next to him are so rude. They didn't even salute you," said the 30-something young knight. "You bastard, is this rude? Telling you I'm true." Before Armin finished speaking, Shillong next to him gave him his head. "What is it? It's a real elf. I'm a noble elf. How can it be possible to salute humans? It's a joke." Alman immediately reacted with his head. "Just kidding. What are they? It's a dragon. Although it is a kind metal dragon, they naturally have the arrogance that a dragon should have. Want to make them bow to humans? That is impossible. Equal treatment is the greatest gift to mankind, isn't it? For this, Shillong is the same. Since reincarnated into the current dragon, with unparalleled power, he has not become a proud 5-color dragon character. He has self-control. He can apologize to humans for doing wrong, but he will never bow to humans because of the boring system among humans. Arrogant. It's so arrogant. The young knight was anxious, turned his head, and said to Andre, "Mr. Andre, I think they are with you. It should be yours, right? Shouldn't you teach the two little guys? Now, what is etiquette?" Andre didn't care about the other party's questioning. He just smiled lightly. "Sorry, these two are not ordinary people. Their surnames are Soderbergh. Solberg." Everyone was surprised, including Her Royal Highness the Seventh Princess, who was still holding Neferu. She turned her head and looked at Shillong and Armin carefully. What does the surname Soderbergh mean? No one in the room didn't know. Sudbury Chamber of Commerce. One of the large chambers of commerce in the kingdom of Shillong controls the largest resource of new industrial movies. Countless ordinary people dream of being seen by the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce, becoming the protagonist of the movie, and stepping into the rich life of earning 100 gold each year. Everyone is naturally familiar with Soderbergh and Andre. Andre is the president of Soderbergh. This is the consensus of the people of the entire Starland Kingdom. But now this consensus has been broken by Andre himself. It turns out that the Soderbergh Chamber of Commerce belongs to the Soderbergh family. The elf in front of me is a member of the Soderbergh family. Andre is just a part-time worker? Everyone's eyes on the three changed suddenly. A group of ordinary people knelt on one knee, staring fierily at Shillong and Armin. If one of the two dragons would say something at this time, "My shoes are stolen. I am afraid that there is a group of licking dogs. Come directly and stick out their tongues and lick them carefully." Even the knight, who was a little angry before, did not consciously restrain his anger, and said, "So, I was rude." The true power of Soderbergh. "That's right," Armin said to his heart. His expression finally relaxed. He waved his hand and said, "Oh, forget it. Forget it. I don't care about you. Who told me to be more broad-minded?" Several knights looked at Armin, and they were inexplicably angry again. "Mr. Soderbergh, even if you are one of the people in charge of Soderbergh, you still hope that you maintain respect for the princess of a country. I respect her in the first place. Which one of your eyes sees me disrespectful?" "Damn it," Armin said, unhappy. "Okay, all right. To Soderbergh's Wuxia World, .online, nice to meet you. And everyone who is kneeling, get up. You don't need to be so polite with me." Seeing that the young knight seemed to have to speak, the seventh princess interrupted the other party quickly and let the civilians get up by the way. "To Mr. Soderbergh, don't you introduce yourself?" "Shillong. Armin. I heard from Mr. Andre before that Miss Neferu was a bodyguard hired by someone else. I still don't believe it. Now that I see you too, I believe it. How about? Are you interested in giving Neferu to me?" The seventh princess said with great interest. Neferu by her side looked at each other helplessly. "What? You actually want to abduct Sister Neferu?" Armin surprised. "The price of hiring Sister Neferu is not cheap," Silo also said. The seventh princess directly ignored Armin's words, but followed Shillong's words and asked, "Mr. Shillong Soderbergh, you seem to underestimate me. As a royal family, you think I will not be able to hire a bodyguard, even if her career level is above 10? Silum glanced at Neferu silently. "Sister Neferu, you can tell her what your salary is." Ha, Neferu smiled. "Little Lucia, Shillong's salary is 840 gold coins per year. If you give me 850 gold coins, then I will follow you." 840 gold coins? Seventh Princess Lucia? Xinglong directly froze in place. The knights behind him opened their mouths one by one, looking at Neferu with an incredible expression. The civilians around heard the 840 gold coins, and their eyes became angry, staring at Neferu fiercely.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and give this video a like to stay updated on all the latest content. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card or directly on my channel. Share your suggestions for the next one. Just drop the name of the novel and the website it's on in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas. If you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. Feel free to drop a comment.